Hello, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning from Leader Associates. Welcome to Solar Energy Future Vietnam Virtual. My name is Jay, project producer Leader Associates, and the host of today's talk. I will spend my time sitting in front of the camera and walking with you through this one-day online virtual conference. It is so honored to have all of you here from different countries and different time zones. Firstly, I would like to briefly introduce who we are. Leader Associates is a global leading event organizer focused on renewable energy. In past 5 years, we have hosted events across APAC region, South America, and Europe. Today, we are honored to have a network of over 200 audience here in this platform and other marketing partner channels. Secondly, please kindly notice the brief agenda introduced today's solar energy sessions. As you can see, we will explore leading solar developers project through show. After discussing the key issues, we will hear the voice of Goldwee to discuss the new trend of smart energy in this market. Meanwhile, we also can get insights of O&M and investment of solar power. Thirdly, interaction with the speakers. If you want to ask questions to our speakers, there is a Q&A box for your usage. We will go through the questions at the end of each presentation if there is time left. SCFV Virtual is no wonder a very important part towards the target. We are focused on bringing the best products, services, and technology brands in the industry from across 25 countries, right here to Vietnam, in support of Vietnam's vision to transform into the power and the renewable sector. Hope the Solar Energy Future Vietnam Virtual can support your understanding of this market. And now, without further ado, let's start with our opening session of today, Online Project Roadshow. Let's welcome our first speaker, Mr. Wing Tuan Hai, CSO from Shire International, to give the case study of Shire International's gigawatt RTS business, opportunities and challenges. Hello, Mr. Wing.
Hello, Jay. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah. Okay. Good morning. Would you please share your screen and then begin your keynote? Now I will turn the microphone over to Mr. Wing.
Good morning. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen. You can, yeah, right. You can start your keynote right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your time. And I'm on behalf of Shire International. I'd like to share with you some of our keynote today about the solar industry in Vietnam. Shire International company come from UK, and we are investing not only for solar, but also from the tidal and wind energy, solar farm and rooftop solar. Today, I'd like to give you some information about our prioritized market segment with rooftop solar in Vietnam market. Shire International is we start from UK, and we have a number of projects is invested in the countryside of UK, like some Yorkshire, Norfolk.
Sorry, Mr. Wing.
Yes.
Sorry. Yes. We can only see your 13 page. Could you please share your first page of your presentation slides?
The first page.
Yes, first page. We can only see your 13 page.
Can you see now?
No, we cannot see your PPT slides. Never mind. I think I can share my screen to show your PPT slides. When you see next, I will change your.
Yeah.
Yes. So please hold on, everyone. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Hello, Mr. Wing. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Yes. Okay. So go ahead for your keynote.
Yes, the next one, please.
Yeah.
Next
Okay.
one. Yeah. Yeah, we start from our first project in south of Yorkshire in United Kingdom. And this project is a solar farm with the capacity of over 50 megawatt. Next, please. And the next one is Norfolk, also in the UK. And it's also solar farm with a capacity of about 250 megawatt. You can see in the general that because of the saving time, so I cannot introduce you on of our project in the Europe. But in general, it's a total investment of the Shire at the moment in the Europe. It's from the wind energy, tidal, and solar farm. With the number of investment go up to the 2.5 billion US dollar. Okay, let's talk about what Shire come to Vietnam, and this is, I think, that is the case study I'd like to share with you all. We came to Vietnam right from 2018 after a time to study about the market and the legal structure for the renewable energy, and we officially start the company from May 2019. And with the market goal. It's about 1,400 megawatts. Why we have this number? Because of we have a lot of the potential project at that time with proposal from our local partner, and that we come to our project pipeline. And our company is can say that a multinational company. We have a different kind of nationality. People working in our company at the moment, about 11 nationality working in Shire in Vietnam. And Shire Vietnam also the office is taking care for all the market like Indonesia, and we keep studying about the potential market around of the Asian country. Next, please. Why we come to Vietnam? We understand very well that Vietnam is very potential for investment of a renewable energy, and Vietnam and the root cause in Vietnam is one of the country will get a serious effect by the climate change, and also many programs from the United Nations pay attention for such a country. That's the number one. Number two, Vietnam is a developing country, and also one of the special case in the Asia area because of the sharp developing, and we can see that the country is developed with the GDP grow up average every year about 6 to 6.5%, and that also make the country in the serious need of the power supply. Without COVID situation, we can see that the number of case of the shortage power, especially some area of the industrial park, and we can see that the average power demand it go up about 7.8 per year, and that up to 2030, and that also on the planning of the PDPA, and estimate about another 4% from 2030 to 2045. So we can see that such a potential market for the investment, and especially for the renewable. In the same situation that is a Vietnam country, Vietnam government also planning of cutting down the number of projects from the conventional energy sources, such as the coal fire, and also no more play for investing for the hydraulic power dam. So renewable is one of the choice, and also that it come up to the certain incentive program from the Vietnam government in order to invite the foreign investor come to study. Next, please. Talking about the rooftop solar, 2020 up to 2020, we can see that the number of projects invest in Vietnam market is almost about 100,000 stations, with the average capacity about 9,700 megawatt peak, and located in 63 provinces. Mean that the slightly more invest into the southern part of Vietnam because of the sun hour, but also it's other part of the country, like in the northern part, also have the demand of renewable. One of the reasons because of the some European and other investor, they have such kind of demand in order for the compliance in their original market. And we can see that it's about almost 6,000 projects located in the south, and about 3,000 located in the central, and a number of projects located in the north. And this because of, as I just explained, due to the sun hour. Next, please. And talking about the investment for the renewable to Vietnam market is we cannot forget about the infrastructure, what we call it the REIT. Yeah, the REIT is invest and operate and owned by EVN. We call the NPT, National Transmission Corporation. And even in the future, when Vietnam open market for the utility market, and welcome for private sector join into utility market, but 100% sure that the transmission will be still monopolized and controlled by the state-owned company, and because of this the infrastructure. And we can see that the current system in Vietnam is divided by 7 regions from the north go down into the south. It divided by 7 regions, and 7 regions also have a certain number of projects invest for operating the infrastructure, especially for the 220 kilovolt system. And Vietnam national grid is divided by many layers, so from 6 kilovolt to 500 kilovolt. And we understand that is in 1995, Vietnam invest for the 500 kilovolt line from the north to the south in order to supply to get the power from north to the south, and that we call the national line number 1. And until today, national line number 3 is almost completed. Some part of the region 4, it means from the coast side go into the highland of the country. And on my slide that you can see that the number of projects is going to be invested by the EVN. So we have a clear picture that the infrastructure will be operated, and that is also one of the reasons right now is many investors they pay attention to Vietnam energy sector. Next, please. And why utility market is still not open for private sector join, but currently many many investors come and also find out the opportunity invest because of a certain reason. At the number one, Vietnam is going have a certain schedule in order to open the utility market. Number one is the competitive generation market. That one is planning and sponsoring by World Bank and start from 2012 and completely in 2015. This means that is the competitive generation market is already open, and that's the reason why since 2010 to 2015 have a number of BOT projects invest in the power generation in Vietnam. We heard about like Mitsubishi and other investors from China, from Japan, from Europe, putting money invest for the power plant in Vietnam. And then is the next schedule for electricity market, that is have to go into the retail market, and they have a long time been preparing for this, starting from 2015 to 2021, and that during this time is the EVN, they can see the clear picture that is if only focus into the conventional sources, that's still not enough to supply into to meet the demand of the country. Therefore, from 2017, EVN they consider for the renewable sources, and that one is from 2017. A lot of the regulation is preparing for in order to give the incentive and invite the renewable sources come to the generation market. So and that also one of the reason that the international developer keep studying about the market in Vietnam market since 2017, and number of projects is start to invest from 2017. However, from 2017 to now, the market is also fluctuating because of the EVN did not expect for such a huge investment, and the number of projects come to market is so quick, and also COD in a very short time. That also generating a certain problem to the infrastructure. That one is the EVN and MOIT, the mandate of EVN. They also try to slow down the market. This is one of the most challenging thing I will going to talk later. Next, please. As you know what renewable energy is operating in Vietnam right now, it's not under any laws, not under, because of we used to talk about the renewable laws, but until today the renewable laws is not ready yet. So renewable energy sector now is working under the decision number 13, and all the decision relate to the wind energy. So decision number 13 is end by 2020, and decision number 13 is aimed to bring to the market about 12 gigawatt solar to the market in order to catch up the shortage of the power, as I explained before. That is when they consider for inviting new sources into the generation. And from the decision 13, that generating a certain incentive. First one, they come with the work on the FIT 1 and FIT 2, and that also now after FIT 2, then they suddenly suspended by end of 2020 until today, almost 8 months. There no more new regulation or the guideline to the developer and investor how they are going to move further after FIT 2. This is also one of the key challenging for the market at the moment. Next, please. Yeah, of course, according to the decision 13, there are certain of the incentive. A certain incentive like from the fixed price, and also from the CIT import tax, and also the a certain template for the PPA. That is, we don't have to spend much time in order to drafting and negotiation about the PPA with the EVN. Yeah, this is something incentive. However, this also is the key challenging for the developer when they join into the market. Next, please. Yeah, there are three kind of business model for the RTS in Vietnam market at the moment. before 2020. I mean that from 2017, end of 17 to 2020, that is we are operating by the business model is B2C plus B2B. It means that we invest into the rooftop and we supply and we sell into the factory owner. What that considered B2C. However, the overspin we will sell to EVN, that considered B2B. And at this time is the market is very open, and also is can sold to the developer investor, quite attractive market. That a reason why the number of projects invest into RTS at this period is huge, and that generate a big volume to the system. And then we have another step into the second business model after 2020, because of EVN, they do not welcome more overspin into the grid. That one of the reasons due to the infrastructure. So that from 2020 up to now, the business model come back to B2C. It means that a self-consumption. So we invest into the factory rooftop and only supply into the factory owner. So overspin not accepted by EVN. And what will be next? So everybody concerned about this after 2022, whether the market come back to the initial state that B2B plus B2C. It means that the overspill will be bought by EVN. This is a big question, and people talking about FIT 3 or auction. So in my opinion, that is the system may go into the auction more than FIT 3. Next, please. Yeah, we have Shire come to Vietnam have two kind of the sales model. Non-binding and binding. Yeah. So this one is more related to the sales activity. So I like to share this one in the particular case. So please go to next. At the moment, Shire is paying much attention into the southern part of Vietnam with the about 29 projects now operating and 52 projects now ongoing. It means that is we are under the construction. As you can see that this southern part of Vietnam is still our major market, and we pay much attention about this because of a certain reason. Number of the investor and also the sun hour in southern part is much better for our financial model. So southern part is still our priority market area. Next, please. Yeah, this is some of our project we completed from 2019. And I have prepared one slide in order to discuss with you more about what is the challenging for the solar rooftop and also in renewable energy in Vietnam market. If I still have time, I'd like to introduce you one of the keynote today is what is the most challenging.
Hi, Mr. Win, you can go ahead for your keynote.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry for that.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Hi, Mr. Win. Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay. This is the key issue I like to discuss on today. As you know, that is since the FIT 2 is end by 2020, and I believe that the market is fluctuating and also not many number of the project is COD relate to the solar rooftop as well as the solar farm till today because of we do not have the guidance, new regulation from the off-taker, mean that EVN. So if we look at this structure, we can understand what is the most challenging in Vietnam market at the moment. So most of the regulation and the guidance is preparing by the MOT, and MOT they have also they also have the special department. We want EREA. This department is drafting. This department is drafting all of the regulation, and also they submit getting approved from MOIT. But this EREA, they also working closely with EVN in the same level, because EVN is the off-taker in the market. So therefore, there are certain advocacy, there are certain lobbying working between these two layers in order to protect the EVN benefit or some other off-taker benefit. So we are the newcomer into the market, and when the market is not completely open for the private sector, so developer and investor have to be very careful about this area, this structure, and whether we can join into this lobbying and advocacy program, then we can understand what will be going on in the market in the next few months. Otherwise, we are in very negative position that we don't know what will be next, and that's why certainly we have a lot of seminar talking about when will be victory, whether it's going for the auction, when will be DDPA. So this is the key issue. In the level of political risk, if you consider about the huge investment into renewable market in Vietnam market. And the next thing about in the provincial level, we call DOIT, Department of the Trade and Industry, in every province. You know that is when you really start your business and investment into every province, then you have to rely on DOIT. Under EOIT, they have their own IJEC. They manage the IJEC industrial zone and also the local EVN. This is another layer of challenging when the investor and developer join into the market. And at the moment, we also facing a lot of problem when we're dealing with the local authority, and they can stop our project in any time. So when we have the number of the project on our pipeline, and we're planning that it's going to be COD by the next 2 months. But in fact, when we start our job in the real site, then we're facing the local issue. Yeah. So for example, the firefighting from the firefighting department, and also a certain requirement from a particular the industrial zone. We understand, we know very well that most of the industrial zone in Vietnam is established before 2010. So they do not have any specific environment evaluation, appraisal, approval from the central government. But right now, when you start for any new investment related to the infrastructure, related to the environment, and renewable is considered one of the environment factor. So you need to get approval for relate to from the environment issue, and such kind of challenging factor is coming to our business day to day, and this is the second layer of the challenging. That's why is Shire have a number of projects, and I believe that other developers also have the same picture like us. We have a number of projects on the pipeline, but such kind of pipeline, whether it come into the real, and also whether it go into the practicing at the schedule or not, it very much depend on such key influencer. So this is what I like to share, and I welcome for any question about this after my slide. And we, however, such kind of challenging also, we believe that is now is preparing by the MOIT in order to lift on of the block and let the renewable energy sector going up very soon, because of there's no other thing to choice when they consider renewable is one of the alternative replace for a certain shortage of the generation, especially from the hydraulic dam, and also the number of coal fire is stopped. So we need to do more. We need to talk, and we need to hold such kind of seminar and forum in order to talk to the mandate. Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Wing. And thank you so much for your excellent case study. It really gives us an important understanding of Shire org, international solar business, and insights in this field. Many thanks again. Since there is no time left for the question, some audience, some attendees have some question in the Q&A box and chat box. So it would be appreciated if you can answer their question in chat box and Q&A box. Thanks again. Yes. Yeah, right. And the next part is second case study from Halcom Group. Let's welcome Wing Quang Huan, Chairman from Halcom, to give us a keynote of Halcom's 35 megawatt Giang solar power plant. Hi, Mr. Wing. Now it is your turn. Would you please kindly turn on your microphone camera and share your presentation slides, then start your speech.
Hi, Shire, and hi, everyone. It's very nice to be with you today. Then now I want to share my slide for 1 minute.
Yeah, okay, no problem.
Can you see it?
Yes, we can see a few slides.
So you see, Halcom is one private company in Vietnam. Then today we just briefly share with you that who we are for a couple of slides, for 2 slides, and then we would like to take the one case study, one project that we just put it in the COD last year in 2020 for common, and we will see bring some facts finding and the lesson learned we learn from that project, and hopefully we can get some comment from audience. You know, Halcom is actually we in operation more than 20 years. We created in 2001, and now we work in the 2 sectors. One is the investment and developers, and another that the consulting. For the investment sectors, we focus mostly in the green developments like water supply and sanitation, renewable energies, I mean wind and solar power, and waste to energies. Waste to energies, actually we just started to develop some projects, but not yet in construction. For consulting, mostly we focus on the ODA project so far. ODA, it means that the fund from World Bank, ADB, and so on, some bilateral like Finland, Denmark, and so JICA, and we do for the whole package of the one ODA project, like from the engineering at the very beginning stage, and then environmental, social safeguard, and the communication for the community and education, and so on. That's one kind of approach that the World Bank ADB they do for their project in the term of the sustainable development. Now for the investment that we have some water supply scheme in operation. We also focus on renewable energies and waste to energies and real estate, just by chance. And in case that in Vietnam, you know, we sometimes we develop the PPP or previously that could be the BT project, and then maybe the land can be the one kind of access the government pay for the investors, and in that case when develop the real estate. for the Giang, I just focus on the solar project in Giang in Mekong area in Vietnam. This one also one kind we didn't develop ourselves at the beginning. We one kind of M&A. We take over from another investor who have license investment license, but just leave it there for quite a long time, and it seemed that he didn't want to construct it anymore. So we take it over, and during most from 10 or 12 months, within 1 year, we constructed and put it in COD in operation in just before the deadline on 26th December 2020. The capacity is about 35 megawatt peak, and the total capex about 27 million US dollars. And our consultants, I mean the project management consultant is Chatterpel Engineering from Thailand, and the main contractor is GE, General Electric from US, and then in cooperation with the local contractor, IPC. So as I said that we take over from the another investors from in August 2020, and then in September we do some construction. We start constructions. That the deadline is very close, and we do also very fast. And later on, when the lesson learned, I will present something that that's something we try to avoid for the next, because in the critical time, sometimes we cannot make the plan with the long perspective, with the good schedule, and even that we cannot follow that strictly step by step. And there are some something like a high pressure for all parties, all stakeholders involved in a project, include the owners and consultant and contractor as well. In the October 2020, we made some site clearance still because the headline occurred as something. Then we try to solve a problem with the resident, with the people living under the grid, under the line. And then the 2020, mostly we complete the installation, and thank you very much that GE and IPC, they work very hard and to push everything in time, even everything on site at that time is messed up, but they try to solve the problem with Halcom, the owner of the projects. And then exactly in 2020, December 26th, we put it in operation, COD, and project done. Just few days before the deadline. So the fact finding, we see that there are some facts we have to face during that that time. Jay, please, if I go slowly and maybe the times may be over, then please remind me, then I can go quickly then for the remaining slide. It's okay for you, Jay?
That's okay. Yes, that's okay. No mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as I said, that the corridor of the overhead transmission line is not clear, and that's one type of M&A. When we make it, then everything in rush time, then verbal talking. In some part is not discussed, not get the commitment from the impacted household. Then that makes it quite a difficulty. So when the plan is constructed, and the people outside they see that maybe they know that now the owner have to do everything, satisfy them to build a headline, then they raise some question. Even they increase quite much about the price for the assets for the property and so on. The money at that time is not very important because we can pay something to get everything in line. But the problem that the compensated household, maybe they can complain because they don't get the equal compensation, then that's problems. One kind of thing, and another, that the involvement of stakeholders. I mean, the bank, the consultants, the contractors, everyone worry that maybe we cannot get a deadline, and if we don't put the COD commercial operation before the deadline, then the project will be the collapse or get big problems, and the bank we could not be happy. So they send a staff to involve, many people to involve, even it's not in instruction of the PME or tone. They don't, at that time, maybe the professional working method and so on, is less pay attention. The most attention that the timeline. So that's quite a mess up. At the same time, when you focus on the construction quality, progress, and so on. One hand, you have to deal with the resident, the impacted household. Another hand, you have to spend a lot of time to explain to the client, I mean, to the banks, to the another stakeholder, like even the local authorities. Another problem is COVID situation. You know, at that times, not become seriously in Vietnam like nowadays, but our providers and some equipment from imported from some other countries, mainly from China, but some also from US. Then all of that, the delay of the equipment is happen, and then we have to accept it. And for mobilization of the local resources also, because they listen distracted for the COVID situation, and maybe they are not interesting in cooperation anymore in the project. I mean, also for the fund, for equity, for everything. That also might be affected by COVID problems. And the bank disbursement at that time, maybe one hand they want to cooperate, they push it in progress. Another hand, they worry that risks maybe can happen if we cannot put in line. So the bank also worry about that. Another requirement from EVN, they have a new standard, but they didn't update it. If the owners and both owners and PMU consultant, we didn't know that, and when we imported something, some equipment that it doesn't fit to the EVN, then we have to find a way how to compromise, how to revise that with the local support, with the support from the local contractors. Fit and tariff, as I said, that's met up times, and the if we follow strictly the progress, and maybe we can come over the deadline. But if we just get the deadline, then maybe we can violate some commitment of the with the holder. I mean, with the resident household, also on some other partners that they also worry that we maybe didn't strictly fulfill our commitment. Grid overload at peak hours, you know, that maybe many people know about that problem in Vietnam for some years recently. So the lesson learned, I come to the last slide. So what we learned, that the site clearance, I think that if we before the contracting, and if we see the deadline is very close, we should do it carefully. Our own site, own land should be compensated before start building the constructions. And cost estimates, maybe we should think carefully to make a plan that also increase during implementation, during constructions. Financial resources, that should be clear, because like if we think that the one core investor will involve with use, but like something like a COVID problems happen, and maybe they refuse, or they say sorry, or they cannot contribute the equity income and so on. That one kind of thing. The owners get big problem, because if we cannot justify the equity, and the commercial bank, they are not willing to release the loan. Fourth measures, that also like a COVID, that one kind of thing we should be considered. So in the timeline, we should make some research for that, something that we don't see in advance. And project management team should be strong enough. And the last one, that the PPA, the PPA at the moment sometimes risks put to the project owners rather than the equal cooperation. Okay, that's all. I think that my time is a little bit over. Then okay, that's last slide. But anyway, the project is completed. We put in hand, and everybody willing to share the celebration. And you see that the leader all the way in the middle, and the NIP, I mean the not important person on the next, like me, still here. You can see. Thank you very much for attention. And if you have any question, please raise the idea. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Wing, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing Halcom's experience in developing projects and the insights for the industry. And here is a friendly reminder that our audience are welcome to interact with our presenters. But please raise your questions in the Q&A box. Thank you for the understanding and the cooperation. Yes, and thanks again, Mr. Wing. You can answer the question in the Q&A box and the chat box from our audience. Yes, thank you again. Okay, now let's welcome, yeah. Okay, now let's welcome our next presenter, Mr. Philip, CEO from VATC Energy. His topic is review of the solar power development in the last 4 years and the future trend in Vietnam. Hi, Philip. Are you ready to start now?
Hi.
Yes. Yeah, I can hear you. Please get control of this stage, share your screen, and start your presentation.
Okay. So I cannot turn on my camera. Can you help me?
Okay, yeah. You can see the green button in the control panel and click share screen.
All right, all right.
Okay, yes, we can see our screen.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Okay, I need to show on first.
Yeah, you can try again.
Okay, so can you see?
Yes, we can see our screen. So you can start your keynote. Yeah, thank you.
Hello, good morning, everybody. My name is Tien or Philip. I come from Vatax Renewable. So very nice to have your time here. So I spent my 20 minutes to review something about the solar power development for the last 4 years in Vietnam, and what is the future of the solar power in Vietnam. So I will have the 4 parts. The first thing I review about the power sector in general of Vietnam. And the second, I review the solar power for the last 4 years of the development in Vietnam. And 3, the future trend of the solar power. And the last one is something about Vatac, where I work for. So I move on past 1. Here you can see something about Vietnam. At the present time, we have the population of nearly 100 billion, for the updated number of 2021. And we have the electrical power load, the maximum load of the nearly 39 megawatt AC. And the installed power plant capacity is nearly 70 gigawatt nationwide, and generation of the 247 billion kilowatt hour. So you can look at the generation share in the my figure on the screen, where you can see the gray. The gray here is hydropower. Hydropower can account for the major part of the generation in Vietnam. Vietnam is rich in terms of the hydropower. We also have the good contribution from coal-fired power. We have the coal-fired domestic coal-fired as well as the imported coal-fired. And solar power become also very key emerging for the last few years. It's account for 17 gigawatt AC, account for 24% of the own generation capacity of Vietnam. Compared to hydropower, we can see here the total capacity is 21 gigawatt, account for 30% of the capacity generation. The coal-fired power account for 21 gigawatt, 30% of the share. Vietnam also, we have the 10% of generation for wind turbine. Totally, we have the 7 gigawatt. And the imported from Laos and China is less, about 1%, equal to 1 gigawatt. And look at the picture in the right-hand side here, you can see the Vietnam map. So on the solar radiation good potential located in the southern Vietnam, in the central and especially for the southern part of Vietnam. You can see here in the Ninh Thuận, Bình Thuận is the best in terms of the solar generation. Bình Phước, and also some other province in the central highland Vietnam. So that's the reason why we have the very good number of the solar power development already successful installation in the last few years in Vietnam. So in terms of the generation capacity growth, you can see the figure here. From 2010 to 2020 for the last 10 years, you can see the very well growth of the power demand in Vietnam. And the yellow part here is the solar power. You can see it is only seen in 2029 and 2020. The last 2 years, we have the booming of solar power in Vietnam thanks to the very good incentive, very good policy from the central government. Again, you can see here, we have the very big part of the coal-fired power in Vietnam contributed by domestic coal and imported coal. A part of the hydropower was so key in Vietnam, but we are facing the challenging of the climate change and the lack of the water in the reservoir. So some feature that we can see here that the solar power increased dramatically for the last 2 years, 2019 and 2020. And coal-fired power is also key, but for the next coming time, coal-fired power is something very challenging, very difficult for the project owner to have the loan, because there is also the commitment from the international lenders to say no to the coal-fired power globally. Also similar thing, but here the figures show you the electricity generation share. So mainly also come from coal and hydropower, that's key. And you can see the last 2 years, 2019 and 2020, the growing rate is just slow, because of some reason. We can discuss something later. I move on part 2 for the review of what is the solar power development for the last 4 years in Vietnam. So regarding the legal framework, we have the very good policy regulation from the central government. We have the FIT1 applied from the April 2017 to mid 2019 with a very good incentive, 9.53 US cent per kilowatt hour. And after that, we have the FIT2 from June 1st, 2019 to the end of December last year. For the FIT2, we have the three kinds of generation, solar generation. For ground mounted, we have the 7.09 US cent. For the floating, we have 0.6 US cent higher. And for rooftop, we have the 8.38 US cent per kilowatt hour. That's a very good incentives that contribute to very great number of the rooftop solar for the electrical power system of Vietnam. For the why the good policy, you can see here, the FIT in Vietnam is applied for 20 years. For 20 years, it's affirmed by the PPA signing with EVN. And besides for the good FIT and long construction of 20 years, we have the CIT exemption and reduction. We also have the incentives of the tax exemption and also land tax exemption already stated clearly in the legal framework. So what is the achievement? What is the development for the last few years? You can see the total capacity of the solar power in Vietnam is nearly 20 gigawatt peak, nearly 20 gigawatt peak. Among this, the ground mounted and the floating solar account for 10 gigawatt peak, already successful secured for the last few years. In terms of the capacity generation share, the solar power account for 24% of the total generation in Vietnam. What is the rooftop? What is the rooftop achievement? Up to the end of last year, we have the rooftop number of 9.3 gigawatt peak nationwide. Very good number, very amazing number in Vietnam. And we have the, according to the EVN report, we have the over 1,000 rooftop solar system registered and successfully PPA signed with EVN for the very just 1.5 years. Not so much time, but it is a very amazing one. Very amazing. We discussed a little bit about some problem with the solar power in Vietnam. That is a curtailment. So I believe that all of you here, you ever hear, and maybe less or more, you discuss about the curtailment problem. That is very headache issue in Vietnam. As you may know, in Vietnam, according to EVN, the automatic generation control, or AGC, is mandatory by EVN. What is the purpose? You may know that the renewable energy is something beyond the active control of the National Dispatch Center. So we did the AGC to control the generation sometime when there is some technical issue of the grid. And especially nowadays, the oversupply become very headache problem in Vietnam. So some people said that EVN and MOIT try to have the curtailment imposed to the customer. That is wrong or right. So according to my personal opinion, that's something, curtailment is something MOIT and EVN never want to have, because it's caused the investment environment in Vietnam bad. And also a lot of criticize, a lot of critics, a lot of things that the government need MOIT and EVN to have the troubleshooting to bring it to the normal operation of the system. So For example, for the last few years, Ninh Thuận and Binh Thuận become very, very challenging for the curtailment because it is a very good location, very good renewable potential in Vietnam. So we can see that some renewable energy plant in Vietnam, we have the curtailment up to 40% of capacity. So it's a very, very bad thing to hear, but it happened in the central Vietnam, Ninh Thuận and Binh Thuận province. And at the same time, MOIT and EVN also have the great action at the troubleshooting to strengthen the power grid in order to consume as much as possible the generation from the renewable energy, mainly contributed by solar power. So what is the reason that we have the curtailment in Vietnam? There is two reasons. The first reason, as I said earlier, that's the transmission limit in some province, especially in the rich potential renewable energy, Ninh Thuận and Binh Thuận province. And the second reason is the supply is over than demand, especially for the recent day, we have the COVID pandemic. So less consumption in every sector, very less consumption, less production. So the demand is very low. It's challenging that rooftop solar is also facing with the curtailment in Vietnam. It's already happened in Vietnam. That is something rooftop investor never known beforehand. As I said, COVID-19 pandemic is also the cause. So the curtailment become very, very headache for the investor, for the lender, and for the authority as well. That's happened in Vietnam. Just because the curtailment, so controversial issues is a sin that some investor of the solar power in Vietnam need to have the ESS, the battery energy storage system. So really that it is necessary and it maybe become the very good business, but some discussions see that we lack up the legal framework. In Vietnam, we lack up legal framework so that the battery energy storage can be seen, because every installation, every project investment in Vietnam, we need to follow the national regulation. But we already signed the PPA at the solar power project. We already signed with PPA at the wind farm project. So what is the further investment for the battery storage? And what is the incentives in case the curtailment just happen for a couple of years, for example, the 2 or 3 years? At that time, the investment on the battery storage, we cannot get the investment return. So it becomes useless. It is a problem. We need furthermore discussion how to secure the investment return in Vietnam by battery energy storage. For the rooftop solar, we also have some challenges. You know, for the last year, 2020, a very big number of the rooftop solar power of equivalent to 1 megawatt. The generation already evacuated into the creek by the mini farm. We also call the rooftop solar, but in fact it's a mini farm, because before that just land and the investor buy the land to build a factory or the farm, so that the rooftop is installed there. And a lot of the controversial issue, a lot of dispute about what is eligible for such system. That's the answer from the the authority and the regulation for the next coming term. But we can see that recently a lot of the legal inspection for the lack of the legal eligibility for the so-called BD farm rooftop is happened there, and also very challenging. And we can see that the PPA cancel rate is still there. I move on the part 3. So given that we had a very good achievement, good contribution from the solar power sector in Vietnam for the last few years. And the question is that what is the future, what is the next of the solar power in Vietnam? So far, after the end of last year, we don't see any regulation happen in Vietnam. We don't have the FIT. We don't have any guideline about how to do with the solar power in Vietnam. Given that we have more than 40 solar farm projects already approved by the Prime Minister, it means already included in the master plan number A, BPD number 7 already. But we also, it's not clear that what is the move for the next coming time. So what we can see here that there is no sign the central government will open for the FIT for solar farm for the next coming time, but DPPA and auction. For the rooftop solar, there is also some discussion on that, and we also see the draft regulation from the central government, and the rooftop FIT will be something around less than 6 US cents per kilowatt hour. That is also that's okay for the self-consumption rooftop solar, especially for the industrial factory in Vietnam. Many investors, many international fund as investor is waiting for the new regulation that the CPPA will be applied for rooftop solar there. So it is clearly that the trend will be moved to the DPPA and auction for the solar farm, including the ground mounted as well as the floating solar. So what is the DPPA? What is the auction? We need very specific guidelines from the central government. And so far, we don't see official guideline about that. We can see a lot of discussion, a lot of conference about the DPPA auction. And now MOIT of Vietnam, very big effort. They try to complete the DPPA and auction guidelines, and that will be happen at the end of this year. So a little bit late, we have the policy gap about 1 year after December 31st, 2020, and up to the end of 2021, clearly 1 year. We lack up the policy. There is also a rumor that the FIT3 for the solar farm will be available for around 70 US cents per kilowatt hour. So what is that? That's a true or wrong? According to my personal opinion, I think that FIT3 for solar farm is something far from actual. Something in the future, what is the solar power in the future? For example, in 2020, so what we can see in the DPD number 8 draft version, the total capacity contributed by the solar power is 25 to 26 gigawatt AC, account for nearly 24% of the generation share, versus to 137 gigawatt for all the nation on kind of generation in Vietnam in terms of capacity. So what is the future of BESS? There is also some very high, very keen intention to study how to apply the BESS in Vietnam. US TAD and GE Energy Consulting already make the study to support EVN and MOIT to see whether battery energy storage is okay for the application in Vietnam. And the result is not so good that they say that the capacity share of the renewable energy in Vietnam is a little bit lower than the limit that the ESS can work well in terms of the project investment return. EVN, something is a firm that we see that that's firm. EVN will launch the battery energy storage system of the up to 100 megawatt. So for the capacity, it is 100 megawatt hour, just for the frequency control purpose, not for the main purpose of the storage. And we can see that also there is a good move for the residential battery energy storage and zero export. It makes sense during the time there is no FIT and EVN denied for any connection to the system. And what is the effect of the floating and ground-mounted solar for the next coming time? We can see that a lot of controversial issues happen for the land. Land occupation is a very high attention for the last few years, and the land price increased a lot. So we can see the social impacts and conflict increase already happened in Vietnam, and the floating solar is of more advantage in Vietnam. The mini farm rooftop solar cause a controversial issue in Vietnam, so I don't think there will be happen the same thing for the mini farm rooftop solar in Vietnam anymore. And the self-consumption rooftop solar, it is the key for the next coming move. But the grid connection become very challenging because you know, now the supply is over than demand, so EVN is very reluctant to agree for the grid connection. But the zero export residential solar also work well for the residential sector. So I moved on the last sector. I just have the 2 slides. That is something about Vatex. I work for Vatex. Vatex is an engineering consulting firm in Vietnam. So our business to cover for the solar power, wind power, waste to energy, biomass power, and power grid. We provide the engineering design consulting service for many projects in Vietnam. For example, for the solar, you can see here 26,000 megawatt solar power is our track record in Vietnam that Vatex provide engineering service. Among this, there are very big capacity solar farm in Vietnam. For example, the Sunship in Tuan, Sao Mai, Dầu Tiếng 1, 2, and many 50 to 80 megawatt solar farm in Vietnam already in COD. Our client is the investor and the EPC contractor, for example, the Sterling and Wilson, Buis, NSN, Power China, Energy China, and some other Sterling and Wilson. Our customer is also the lender. For the rooftop solar, we have the daughter company who provide the service for the EPC. We have the full turnkey basic EPC for the customer, for the developer and investor. Our track record is 40 megawatt for the last year, 2020. Some other number here, we work well for wind, 10 gigawatt more. For the biomass, we have the 280 megawatt plus substation transmission line. We have the very big number. in summary, that's some area that's Patax. That's my time. I already consumed all my time here. So my contacts is appear on the screen. Thank you so much and welcome any question coming from the audience. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Hi, Philip. Thank you for your presentation. Since the time there is no time left, I think you can also answer the question in our Q&A box. Meanwhile, learning from solar EPC's view is indeed of educational meaning for the better understanding of Vietnam solar industry. Many thanks again, Philip. Next is our presenter, Mr. Super, Country Director Vietnam from Super Energy Corporation. Hi, Mr. Super. Would you please turn on the camera, share your screen, then start your presentation?
Yeah, I did already. Can you see me?
Sorry, I cannot see you.
Really?
Okay, yes, I can see you. Yeah, I can see you.
Okay.
Yeah, right now. Yeah, I can see you.
Good morning, Vietnam. Good morning, everyone. Okay, it's my turn. I will present a bit different from other group, a little bit, because most of the thing is very similar. Okay, a moment. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Super, we can see your screen. Yes.
Yeah, but something wrong with my computer. Moment.
Okay.
Yeah, it's come from the morning. It's a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Good morning to everyone again. Good morning, Philip. Good morning, Mr.
Okay. Sorry, Super.
Mr. Huan.
Sorry, Mr. Super. You can click the display settings on your screen. Can you see the button of display? Yes.
Okay. Good.
Yes.
Okay. My topic is about battery energy storage system as the integrated technology for the utility scale. Actually, I plan to speak about energy in Vietnam, but many of our speakers already mentioned about this. Okay, so I will go to my portion directly. Okay. Okay, what's going on? Okay. I will have 4 portions or 4 parts of my presentation. It's about the climate change and super energy, a bit cooperation, and we'll talk about renewable energy in Vietnam and perspective. Sorry, there is something wrong. In the next 9 year and BESS, okay? So this is the first part for the climate change. Okay, I think everyone also agree that the climate change is the answer. I think apart from the COVID that's occupy our world. That's why I have to wear the NASA and final countdown to go out from the world, maybe have to look in for the new panels. Okay, so next I will present about super energy. We are active in Thailand and Vietnam. Actually, we also try to invest in Malaysia, Myanmar, Indonesia, even Japan, and also in Ukraine. But there's many of the speakers talking about Vietnam is suitable for renewable energy. And of course, that's what I present in the previous slide is about climate change. If we don't change ourselves now, from now until the next 10 year, 20 year, we have more, not just the COVID, maybe more virus and the disaster from the flood and so on. That's already mentioned in the previous clip, okay? So I will present a super energy, okay? Okay, I will talk a bit about super energy. We are the investor from Thailand. That's what mentioned. We plan, we expand our business to Vietnam and aiming for last couple year we can make nearly 1 gigawatt. But in next 2 or 3 years we aiming for 1.5 gigawatt or later. It depends on the Vietnamese policy on the feed-in tariff. That's many of us speaking about. In Thailand, we have nearly solar farm. We have 700 megawatt, about 681, and we also working in green energy. And so about the waste energy, now we are number 2 or nearly number 1. That is in Thailand, about 64 megawatt. And in Vietnam, we are looking for the new opportunity for the waste energy. A part of 2 business of solar and waste. We are also working in the wind project in Vietnam, and in Thailand we still have the water system. So for the 3 or 4 I think it's about the green business, we are also looking in opportunity in Vietnam. Super Activist 1994, and this is listed in the stock market of Thailand 2005, and we are looking for renewable energy. I think it's around 7 or 8 years ago. In Vietnam, we have already solar farm for 836.72 megawatt, and we just have only rooftop for 1 megawatt hour, a megawatt. Regarding the policy, also not stable yet about rooftop. We heard that there are so many of rooftop in Vietnam, so we just wait and see for a while and for the bill and to invest more in future. For the wind, we have total about 421 megawatt. We also acquired for more wind project in future. And for rooftop, we are also looking for another 10 megawatts. In Vietnam, we are focused for solar and wind. This is the overnight farm in operation for 836.72 megawatt. We have very good partner in about this from Chinese product or many of European product. And one of the over engineering company is Watec from Mr. Philip. That is already present. And some from many of food or company in Vietnam at our partner. Thank you for that. This is this is a wind project. We have offshore and onshore wind. Offshore we have in Sok Giang 30 megawatt, in Bạc Liêu 141 megawatt. We plan to COD for Sok Giang October. And because of the COVID, we don't know what happened because we could not move anything for the construction nearly two weeks. And before that, it's very difficult for us to bring in supervisor, skilled manpower, or including a move around the equipment to site, not easy. But now we are nearly more than election is more than 50%. So we still try very hard to finish it on time. This is onshore project. On the left-hand side, the wind already installed 2 or 3 of the wind turbine, expecting to finish 12 wind turbine within end of September. A substation is ready to energize within the next 2 weeks. For the Ya Lai project in Chu Prong, we plan to finish on the thing end of October. But in Phu Yên, that is the new project we nearly start in 3 or 2 months. It's now depend on the approval of the government of Vietnam. So that is the last one. I'm talking about solar rooftop in Dong Nai for 1 megawatt. Okay, so I will talk about renewable energy perspective in Vietnam in next 9 years. As already mentioned by everyone, also solar in the past, I think in the past a couple of years, Vietnam have increased a lot of volume of energy that is make the power curtailment and impact for the national grid. For the wind, expecting end of October, is we have a lot from the last year or last 2 years. We in Vietnam they have only 630 megawatt, but plan for the next 4 years will be 11 gigawatt in total. But solar just from the last year to the next 4 years is about 1 gigawatt. This is from the PPA plan from Vietnam, draft Vietnamese government. And for the next 9 years, we can see a bit on the solar, but it's quite a big number from wind offshore or onshore. So I will not talk about in detail because many of us already mentioned about the wind and solar. But in this event, we focus about solar. So I will not talk much about wind. Okay, but I hope that the solar business will be increased more in the next 4 years or next 9 years. That we have opportunity to invest more, like in floating solar. I think you have the plenty of the area or space on the dam or in the middle of the Vietnam. I see that is the plenty of land can develop some kind of the floating solar. Okay. This is just to compare, and again from actual from the dark green is solar and light green is wind. If we can look from in the next decade, I mean from this decade, that's the double of the. I mean for the renewable energy, wind and solar will be similar size, and from the PP7 you can see that it's only half of the new PPA, not PPA, PDP. Okay, So I will come back a bit about energy storage system in Vietnam. If we look that in the daytime, they have like in the noontime we can calculate from even in oversight that is about the surplus of energy about 26%, and in during holiday or weekend or something that's the energy also surplus like is congested in the transmission line or in national grid. That's a big problem of the government from EVN or MOIT how to manage it. And B is about Mr. Philip also mentioned already. They have the plan or in the future to making for energy storage for the 50 to 100 megawatt hour. But I'm not sure that's when we will do it or just plan end of this year or maybe next year because of the COVID. And why we need about energy storage system. This is just to pitch of the Vietnamese or EVN to think about this to make a mechanism of fit-in tariff if you can make the operation efficiency and reduce capacity of the or even decrease of the investment for the future if they have to make 500 kV more and more to subsidize or to support the renewable energy in the middle or in the south and link from the north to the south. This battery energy storage system is maybe the solution for no need to increase investment right now, but it can prolong the investment of transmission line. And also don't forget about transmission line in long line. They also create the loss in the line also. I think this is a simple of over electrical engineer, we know about that. So if I'm talking about battery, if I'm not talking about LCOE, it will be, it's a mistake. This is I got from the research in Germany. The speaker may be a bit from what we can create and we make it in Thailand. They're talking about now LCOE only for battery, not talk about the solar or wind yet. It's about 8 something cent per unit per megawatt hour. So, but if we have it, like we can reduce carbon dioxide. As from the previous clip, I already from the previous I mentioned about the climate change. If we not start now, the money we have to secure, like COVID, about the answer maybe much more than investment in about the renewable energy and to make its balance. Because if you have just only solar and wind, as we know, solar can energize or can produce the electricity only 4 or 5 hours in some day, like in the rainy season, we cannot produce it. Of course, if we combine to make the hybrid with the wind can have any time of the not in the daytime or nighttime, and we combine. And that also the battery is the linkage system between solar and wind. If we can serve something like this, this means that Vietnamese or even the government in the world also no need to increase for the fossil fuel power plants. They can decrease because the fossil solar plant, the fossil power plant, it can produce about CO2 a lot. That is make the world climate. That already mentioned, maybe not just the 1 or 2 degree, but it can make about 4 degrees Celsius. It make the people in trouble. That we are also in trouble. Everyone know that this disease come from the climate change, the global warming. Okay, so I think I will talk. If I'm not talk about this, no one will know that what we did. Sorry. Super one about the new power plant, a hybrid renewable energy in Thailand, and it's we are the first company who signed already PPA with EGAT to produce they call hybrid energy to supply to the grid of the EGAT like EVN in Vietnam. Investment of this project about $70 million US. Is a first commercial project in Thailand. Over EPC already signed, and we have solar farm for 49 megawatt. That is a different fit-in tariff, and we also supply to the kids for 136 megawatt hour. I think it's quite a big project also, and We aim to finish and COD next year. And this model of this project will be bring into Vietnam and waiting for mechanism from the Vietnamese government, how they also make the mechanism or fit in tariff, and we are waiting for that. Okay, we can challenge that. We can do it in Thailand. This means we can do it in Vietnam and in around the world. Okay, I also mentioned this, Mr. Huan, if I'm not wrong, talking about if you have to make 500 kV megawatt, 500 kV transmission line grid for the third circuit. Of course, it will invest to the forest and land use, and we have a lot of problem. And don't forget about the loss in transmission line. Also, we make worse of the in cost of, about the occur cost of the loss and investment. So we recommend that if we have like battery energy storage system. This is the model, is not the new idea. I also bring from EGAT. Before 3 or 4 years ago, I'm so study with the Thai company and try to put energy storage system, and we already finished the project in Thailand. Not we, it means in Thailand. In EGAT, they install about 20 megawatt hour and 10 megawatt hour in the central of the substation to link in from the 500 kV. This is a similar idea that we are put in like in the sum of the congest of the energy of transmission line. If we can put battery, that it can prolong the investment of Vietnamese government, and just only the right mechanism how you activate the battery storage system. In back to the Thailand concept, that's we sign contract with EGAT. They also like it's a firm. They need the firm firm energy about 12 to 13 hours. The how to say, the vendor or the bidder have to supply continuously in 12 or 13 hours without interrupting. If we have problem of interrupting, we have to pay penalty back to EGAT. So I think this is the same idea. If we can implement in Vietnam, you can sign like 12 hours, something 13 hours, and in the peak time, like you no need to make the new coal-fired or gas-fired because they have the plenty of the solar and wind already. If we make the hybrid and the BESS, just the tool or equipment to link in and to supply the energy back to the grid. I think this is the very interesting of business for the green business in the next decade. So last but not least, I'm talking about technical a lot. So super, and so we are like, we not forget about what we are doing. We have the license to operate is social responsibility. In everywhere we go, we also support for the student, for the local people who have the job or who have the work with us. We try to localize to heads of the chief engineer, and everywhere that we invest, we try to use the local people as much as possible. And of course, we never forget about we have the charity of the student, of the poor people. During COVID, we still never stop because we thinking about the friend in need is the friend in this is the friend in need. So we have to help them, including old people, overstaff. We also have to encourage them to support more for the Vietnamese society. Okay, that's the end of my slide. So if you have any question, you can send to inbox and so on. Okay. So if we not do for the green energy, and we also looking for just only the coal-fired, gas-fired, and we not keep the environment well, we have to make the final call down like me, go to Mars or go to Neptune or somewhere else. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, super. Many thanks for your presentation. As an excellent finishing touch, the energy storage plus solar is one of hottest issue for us to learn from. Actually, since there is no time left, so you can answer the question in the Q&A box. Yeah, thank you so much. Much appreciated for your keynote and case study. Thank you, Super.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Sawadee krap, everyone. Bye-bye.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye,
Okay,
everyone.
now, yeah, goodbye. Goodbye, Super. Okay, now we have finished all case studies of Project Roadshow. And thanks to our speakers' valuable speeches and patient standby. Hope you have enjoyed these sharing sessions. And the next session is Solar Tech Keynote. Goldway Senior Storage Solution Engineer Cindy Yu will start her keynote, Open New Area of Energy. Yeah. Hi, Miss Cindy. Would you please turn on the camera, share your screen, then start your presentation with the audience?
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, but we cannot see you.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, we can see you now. Yeah, right. So then you can share your screen from your side.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah. Not yet.
Okay. And now?
Oh, we can see your screen now. Yes, we can see your screen now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Okay, please start your keynote.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Cindy, an energy storage solution engineer from Goodway. Today, I'm going to introduce our company, Goodway, and then take a brief introduction of energy storage solution from Goodway. Today, my topic is create a new era of smart energy. Here's the, wait a minute. Here's the milestone of Goodway. Goodway was established in 2010 and started the first PV inverter in 2011 and the Asia's first energy storage inverter ES series in 2014. And started to establish overseas branch offices in many countries, such as in Australia, in Germany, and also in Vietnam, we have our best team. And in 2020, Goodway listed on Shanghai Stock Exchange. And in 2021, Goodway established the branch offices in America and in Japan and started to provide Goodway one-stop storage solution. Until now, Goodway has achieved 6 years of TÜV Rheinland Quality Awards. Here's the Goodway family number. The total number of employees is over 2,300 and the R&D staff is over 500. The overseas employees is over 70. And in 2020, the global sales revenue is over $244 million. Here's the production capacity. Solar inverters capacity until now is over 25 gigawatts and the battery capacity is over 400 megawatt hour. Here's the global rankings of Goodway. Goodway has achieved the top 1 in the area of global energy storage inverters supplier and also the number 1 in China rooftop, in India rooftop, and in other countries, and the top 2 in the area of Australia rooftops, and the top 3 in Turkey and Spain rooftop. Goodway not only provides the residential on-grid solutions, but also the utility scale solution, the commercial and industrial solution, and especially the energy storage solution, the lithium battery and smart energy management system. Here's the on-grid inverters from Goodway. We have single-phase type and three-phase type. The power range is from 700 watt to 250 kilowatt, and the MPPT number is from 1 MPPT to 12 MPPT. Here's the pictures of our on-grid inverters. The residential on-grid inverters from 700 watt to 15 kilowatt, and the commercial and industrial solution from 17 kilowatt to 136 kilowatt. Also, the utility solution named HT series, the power range is from 225 kilowatt to 250 kilowatt. The main point of today's speech is the energy storage inverter. We have single phase type and three-phase type. We separate our energy storage inverters to hybrid inverter and AC retrofit inverters. And a hybrid inverter means the inverter integrates the function of both on-grid inverter and energy storage inverter. We have ES, EM, EH, EHB, and ET. And also, we provide the AC retrofit inverters, which means for the existing on-grid inverter system, adding an AC retrofit inverter on the AC side can upgrade the on-grid inverter system to an energy storage system. The power range is from 3.6 kilowatt to 10 kilowatt. And also, we provide the all-in-one series named ESA. It contains 5 kilowatt hybrid inverter and 10.8 kilowatt hour batteries. The left side is our residential inverters. We also provide the C and I commercial and industrial storage inverters named BTC and ETC. The output in power is 50 kilowatt. Here's the battery manufactured by Goodway. We have low voltage battery, CQA and Lynx U, and also high voltage battery named Lynx F and Lynx S. Let's start to introduce the residential energy storage solution. The power range is from 3 kilowatt to 10 kilowatt. Here's the pictures of our inverters. Let me introduce the priority of PV supply. Solar power will support loads first and then charge batteries. And the extra power will be able to export to grid if it is allowed. If it is not allowed to export power to grid, we can set zero export, the value of zero, and to achieve the function of zero export. And also the load consumption priority. Loads will take power from PV first and then battery discharges. If it's still not enough, loads will take power for the rest demand. The parallel solution for three-phase. As we know, ET's max power is 10 kilowatt. So in one system, we can add 10 ETs to upgrade the system to be max 100 kilowatt, and also have the function of unbalanced output and smart control. The capacity extension solution for the existing on-grid inverter system, we can add another hybrid inverter and also add PV power on the hybrid inverter side to extend the power capacity. Also, the battery charge and load support is extendable. For the users who does not need battery function now, we introduce the EHR and ETR series, which means users can use them as an on-grid inverter, and in the future, maybe users need battery function. They can buy the activation code from Goodway to update the system to be an hybrid energy storage system. The all-in-one solution named ESA. The hybrid inverter is 5 kilowatt and the battery bank is 10.8 kilowatt hour. And in the middle of the machine, we have the pre-wired box, which means it is very convenient to do the installation. We provide 3 ways to achieve the battery power reservation function. We can set different DOD for the off-grid and on-grid conditions. Also, we can choose the backup mode to reserve battery power for grid outage situation. And also, we can choose economic mode to set 4 different charge or discharging duration in the selected days and set the value of rated power. And the new function is that we can set the stop the SOC, set a value, and the charging will be stopped when the SOC is reached. Here's the load monitoring from GridWay, the data and data calculation, the real-time monitoring, and the self-use analysis. The battery compatible list. For ESA, we provide CQA, and not only these battery from GridWay, we can also use other brands batteries, but it is necessary to follow the compatible list, which can be downloaded on GridWay's official website. The C&I energy storage solution from GridWay. GridWay's BTC and ETC can achieve the following functions: the adjustable reactive power, built-in remote shutdown, modularized design UPS level switch time, and also 100% unbalanced output. It is very convenient to do the maintenance. We just need USB to update the system, and also we have independent plug-out modules, which means if you need to move out one of them, it will not affect the function of other modules. So it is very convenient to do the module changing. The features of GridWay solution. GridWay provides all the components needed for the system operation, so users do not need to buy them separately. Especially, we provide the smart meter, which is manufactured by GridWay. And the UPS level switch time. When the grid outage occurs, the system will turn on-grid mode to off-grid mode within 10 milliseconds, which means the loads on the backup side will ride through without power off. The 100% unbalanced output. It is available for ET, BT, ETC, and BTC, which means it is available. It is able to output different power according to the load consumption on each phase. The smart energy solution, and it is a new function named load control, which means we can turn on or turn off the loads according to our needs, so that we can make sure the solar power is used on the max efficiency way. Here's the monitoring and VPP. We provide different ways to achieve the function of local monitoring. We have Wi-Fi module, Wi-Fi plus LAN, and Bluetooth. Also provides the Modbus RTU TCP, and also have local servers in many countries have open API. The smart home system. GridWay hybrid system could be able to communicate with smart plugs and open remote control to realize power supply priority and real-time energy monitoring, which helps to increase solar energy power supply efficiency. Here's the cases from GridWay. The 5 kilowatt in South Africa and in UK, also 5 kilowatt in Turkey, and 15 kilowatt in UK. That's all. Thank you for your listening. And if you have any questions, please leave a message here, or you can contact our finance team by the following mail address. Thank you for listening.
Okay, Cindy, many thanks for your presentation. We have received some questions in the Q&A box and from our registration channel. So would you please answer one or two of them?
Okay.
Okay. The first question is, what kind of ESS regulation is Vietnam lacking at the moment?
The regulation of the ESS is finally lacking at the moment. I think for the ESS in Vietnam, I heard that in Vietnam we need the zero export function. Is that true?
Okay, thank you, Cindy. And the second question is about ESS. When do you think it could be applied for solar energy, and what type of solar it will be used for ESS first, rooftop solar farm, and so on?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
One more time, please.
Okay. Hello, Cindy.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah, right.
Right. One more time, please.
Okay. Never mind. I have a last question. How is the cost of solar storage systems solution during the peak hour power supply? Hello, Cindy.
Hi.
Yes, can you hear me?
你能用中文说一遍吗？
Okay. The question is, how is the cost of solar storage system solution during the peak hour power supply? 中文的话就是solar storage ESS 在高峰时段的时候，它的成本是什么样子的？
It is difficult to answer the cost here. Can we answer it by our sales in Vietnam? Sorry, I don't know the cost in Vietnam.
Okay, never mind, Cindy. All the questions I will send you and your team after the event. You can answer the question by email for them. And
okay.
And yes, and next part is next part, and the last part is the morning is a panel discussion optimizing the performance of solar energy portfolio in Vietnam. Mr. Thomas, the managing director from Indochina Energy Partners, will moderate this panel discussion. Mr. Lorenzo, regional sales director from Total Energy's Renewables Distributed Generation. Mr. Federico, director from BEC. Mr. Filippo, CEO from VATC Energy, and Mr. Chavanot, Vienna country manager from Guangku Engineering, will be panelists to discuss these topics. I will turn the microphone to Mr. Thomas, and it is your stage now. Okay, hi, Thomas.
Thank you very much. I hope everybody can hear me. So first of all, thank you to Jay and the team for organizing this. I am sitting in Ho Chi Minh City, not able to go outside the front door. So to have this is very, very nice, so we can meet our good colleagues in the industry. Let me just briefly introduce the panelists first of all, and then we will start with some questions. And when you talk first time, you can say a little bit more about yourself and your company. We have Mr. Lorenzo from Total Energy, Jin, who you've already met earlier today, from Vartec, Federico from EEC, and Chavanut, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, from Gunkul Engineering. That means that we have CNI IPPs, we have utility scale IPPs, we have CNI EPCs, and we have utility scale EPCs on the panel. So all questions and all discussions can be taken both from a utility scale point of view and a CNI point of view, because they are fundamentally different in many, many ways. So the first thing just to say also, the topic today is, of course, optimizing the performance of solar energy portfolios. We have agreed internally that we are discussing this for portfolios of, number one, solar and existing portfolios. So not the design phase, etc. so much, but more when you have 10 megawatts on a rooftop or number of rooftops, or you have 50 megawatts standing on a field, how do you optimize that and ensure that it is running as you were hoping for and giving the returns to the investors and servicing the clients in the way expected? So the first topic we would like to discuss today is operations and maintenance. What actions can we do to ensure that the output is kept high or increased over time? And for CNI, Lorenzo from Total Energies, if you can briefly introduce yourself and then say something on O&M. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Thomas. Good morning, everyone. I'm Lorenzo. I am sitting in Singapore and I'm in charge of sales for Southeast Asia for Total Energies, which was called Total only until a couple of months ago. We changed our company name and everything because we want to demonstrate our move towards 100% renewables. We are present in Vietnam since 1966 in traditional businesses, gas mainly. We are running a lot of projects with EVN, and we have been running building projects, solar rooftop projects for the last 2 years with a number of different companies all around Ho Chi Minh area, but also in the middle of Vietnam. We are developing solar rooftop not only in Vietnam, but across Southeast Asia for many multinational companies. In regards to the optimization, I think, and the performance of the assets on the roof, I think that's a very interesting question, because it's really a point of, okay, we build this, but then this is going to stay there for 20 years and has to generate energy for 20 years as smoothly and as effortlessly as possible. I think from the developer point of view, the starting point is remote monitoring, basically. So the first thing that we always install is a system which enables us to have the perception of what the system is, how the system is performing from remote without needing to go on the roof. Okay, this applies both to day-by-day operation. So, okay, there's a cloud passing by, or maybe the panels are soiled, they need to be cleaned, but also any malfunctioning or any kind of thing which might affect the performance. This for us is a requirement, and also provides a lot of valuable data, which we normally also share with the company, with the customer. And it's also interesting for the customer to see how the system on his roof is operating.
Thank you. And on utility scale, Chavanut from Gunkul Engineering, perhaps you can weigh in a little bit also.
Thank you, Thomas. I'm Chavanut from Gunkul Engineering. Actually, we established the company since 1982, and we start operation in Vietnam in 2019. Our first solar project that COD in Vietnam. For utility scales, O&M is a big deal because we operating like 50 megawatts, 100 megawatts of the plants, right? So 5%, even 3% of the efficiency is affect a lot for us. Actually, in Vietnam it's different a lot from Thailand that we do, because the size of the plant is like totally different. In Thailand, we have like 5 megawatt, 3 megawatt plants, but in Vietnam, we have like one site, like 100 megawatt together. So O&M team actually has to be efficient and real-time monitoring like every single minute. So what we do, we also have on-site personnel and also have the remotely to cross-check like more high-level engineering to look after for it. To if anything happen or if anything unusual, we can catch it and fix it immediately. Yeah, and one more thing is about the PV cleaning in Vietnam, especially on the south of Vietnam. Because when we entering the first time in Vietnam, all the contractor of the Vietnam says only twice a year is enough for the PV cleaning. But actually, especially from the middle to the south, that we have high irradiance, it's not enough for the twice a year. From my experience, because the dust and the farming season is affect a lot. Like sometimes it's up to 5 to 10% of the PR efficiency. We can compare like before and after the cleaning, and to cleaning the 100 megawatt site is not an easy job. So it's a job that we need to plan ahead. Yeah, there is a big part that we can do, and some of the plan miss to clean the PV, then it affect a lot to it. It sounds easy, but it's really important. Yeah. For the O&M, not in Vietnam, not only operation and technical side, we also have to deal with the authorities, with some paperwork that is keep going. It's not finished after COD. I mean, there are a lot of paperwork going on every month. Yeah, the letters coming, then we have to report to the government. So it's really important especially for the foreign investor, to have some local guys who really understand this process to handle it, because everyone who works in Vietnam, we know that we have a lot of paperwork to submit to comply with the EVN and the authority. Yep.
Thank you very much. I've myself always wondered how operations and maintenance team can claim that twice a year cleaning is optimal, while during a 2-hour meeting, the driver of the boss of the same company, he can clean the car 3 times because it gets so dusty. So I fully agree with you. You already touched on sort of the administration of ongoing portfolios, and for those who don't know Vietnam so well, but I can see from our participant list that most are locals or are people who have been here or have interaction with Vietnam for a long time. Vietnam is, of course, at the center of universe when it comes to administrative processes. That is partly due to our history and partly to how things are simply set up here. So Federico, could you tell a little bit about your experiences with ensuring that there is consistent and streamlined documentation also after COD? Because many people, of course, think that once you have COD'd, then the only administration afterwards there can possibly be must be the issuance of invoices on a monthly basis.
Thank you, Thomas, for the question. And thank you everyone for attending this meeting. I am Federico Bestiani, the director of BEC. We are a EPC company focused on the CNI rooftop. We operate in Vietnam since 2018. We have realized up to date more than 46 projects with a total capacity of more than 10 megawatt. and we provide O&M service for most of these projects. We work mainly with international developers, factory owners, and international lenders to make sure that the project not only build according to the international quality standard, but also they are able to operate at the schedule capacity, which is not easy as our panelists were saying that, for example, the cleaning is much more frequent than forecast. Also, we clean our systems on average between 4 and 6 times per year to ensure a high performance. And as you were mentioning, the operation, the physical operation and maintenance part is only a section of the management of the solar asset and what we need to do. We discovered in these years, especially in the last year and in the last 6 months, that the administrative and the paperwork involved in the operation of the solar asset, especially when you are managing more than 20 or 30 projects, is really high, is really daunting. So we have a dedicated team only for the reporting with the relevant departments for the documentation during the operation of the systems. Not only EVN, but other relevant departments like the MOIT and firefighting department, industrial parks. All these authorities, they need constant reporting based on their occurrence, and it is not rare that the same department asking for the same kind of document many times, and or different departments that are asking for the same kind of document, but each department they want a different standard that comply to what they expect. So it is very important for the company that is doing this administrative work to ensure the history of the documents that are sent to the different departments need to be consistent, need to be checked. So that we need to have a process very clear how to handle the request from documentation by the different departments, and how to process internally and how to send. This is something that we have about four people working full time about this. So this is something that the investor need to consider, especially for the rooftop, because with the rooftop we always talk about a cluster of maybe 10 or 15 solar rooftop, maybe located in different industrial parks, different provinces, and then the complexity of the administration increase exponentially.
Everything in Vietnam is down on provincial level. That is rule number 1 to understand. Right. And finally, Mr. Tien from Vartec, those who have been here since early in the morning, of course, have seen him already. Could you weigh in a little bit also on communication with the EVN, Department of Industry and Trade, Department of Planning, fire departments, on a utility scale perspective? Not specifically curtailment. That will be our next separate topic. Mr. Tien?
Hello, Thomas.
Yeah, you're there. Good.
Yeah. So do you have any question and concerns regarding the panel discussion? Yeah. Hello. Hello, everyone. Yeah.
Sorry, are we
Thomas?
waiting for Mr. Tien to come on again?
Yeah.
Okay, then we will skip Mr. Tien if you're not online. last chance. Mr. Tien from Vartec, Philip Boy. Maybe, I know he's sitting up in that Giang, so maybe the internet connection got lost. Okay, let's move on to Kurt.
I can check with him directly. So please hold down. You can, yes, you can go.
We will move on speedily. We are already running a wee bit behind and we want to answer lots of questions at the end. Okay, so let's move on to curtailment, because obviously that is a topic that everybody is focused on. Some are worried a lot, some don't sleep at night, but everybody is definitely focused on it. So again, if we split it up a little bit, because it is fundamentally different. So if Lorenzo from Total Energies, if you talk a little bit about it from CNI perspective, because there, of course, you also have a private off-taker directly under your rooftop panels.
Yeah, no, it's right. I think it's substantially different for CNI and for utility scale, no, because CNI basically the grid injection, let's say on a traditional or let's say authentic rooftop, so for self-consumption, the curtailment has a little impact because the export or the excess should not be big. The main revenue stream comes from selling electricity to the corporate itself, to the company underneath the roof. Obviously, the possibility of selling whatever electricity is not used on Sundays or public holidays on TET to the grid is a big advantage to make the economics work. If it doesn't happen, because EVN decides to curtail like they did at TET this year, yes, it has an impact, but it's not disastrous, let's say, in the sense that it can be managed. We have a structure of contract which is specifically designed for this kind of occurrence, basically, because it's designed on the assumption that the feed-in tariff is not there. If it's there, so much the better. No? But if it's not there, you still need to be able to supply electricity to the customer, and the customer needs to be able only to take what he needs, what he consumes, not to take the rest and not waste it. Okay. That being said, it's a problem also because it's something that basically wasn't really expected, and it's, like you say, it's managed at provincial level. So it's very difficult to manage, let's say, at a higher level in the sense of understanding what to expect, because there are some provinces where it's very, very bad and it's impacting a lot. Some provinces which are really not affected. No, so you know, I mean, businesses, generally speaking, they need certainty. No, whatever is the rule, as long as it's clear, it's fixed, and it's the same for everyone, we can work with it. The uncertainty, and this applies to curtailment, is the worst scenario, no, because you don't really know how you what you're going to encounter, and in that case, you normally have to take the worst case scenario, which can be quite bad, and in some cases might basically decide, okay, wait a moment, I can't go ahead. No. I hope I answered the question.
Absolutely. There are, obviously in CNI, there is a very wide range of how much self-consumption there is under the roof. And I think what you were alluring to at the end was the P90, the amount of power we can sell for 90% certainty, which is basically sum that is how much is produced and how much is actually available to be sold at a certain given time when there's demand for it. And that's typically used for financing. And that, of course, means that the spectrum of CNI is so wide that there are some off-takers where you are 100% dependent on the feed-in tariff or 90%.
Yeah, no, exactly.
On the feed-in tariff.
That's something, yes, I would like to add also. I mean, a lot of the projects, probably half of the projects which have been COD'd last year were, technically speaking, not really rooftop, in the
Correct.
sense that they were rooftop, but without any building underneath, basically focused on export to the grid. Obviously, those have been impacted by the curtailment much more, because that's the main revenue stream for those.
And many of the rest, they were either factories that have very intermittent demand, for example, a 2-hour lunch break. That's not very good if you're doing solar. 1.5 days off every weekend, and 3 weeks off at TED. That automatically brings you into a problem that you have 30-40% of your time you're dependent on the feed-in tariff. Yeah. That is what was focused on in the beginning. That means that for those projects, feed-in tariff and non-curtailment is extremely important. From Gunkul Engineering's point of view, because you, of course, a foreign investor, a Thai-listed company, and you have entered the market through M&A in a utility-scale project, solar. So how do you evaluate curtailment? Obviously, it's a bad thing when it happens, but risk mitigate it or risk manage it? How do you do that from your point of view?
Thank you, Thomas. Actually, it's different from the first we entering, and now the situation has changed a lot actually. For the first in 2019, during that time we got curtailed, mainly only in Binh Thuan, Ninh Thuan, right? On that time we are on optimistic side actually for the slide that we entering, but what we did, we did a lot of grid study. So we study on the grid if that area got a congestion on the grid or transmission lines, so on. But after last year of the huge COD of the solar roof project around the country, that's totally changed almost like everything of the situation before from our plants that have never been curtailed at all since 2019. Then it started to curtail in December last year in 2020 until now. And everyone knows during that in February, we got up to like 30-40%, and is getting better in next month, but now it's coming bad again because of the COVID. So now what we are doing to mitigate is what we are doing 2 ways. One is technically tracking. So we closely actually monitoring the rate of curtailment every day to see that to make sure that ACO is not like miss or over curtail us like in the not normal way. Like if you track it every day, you will see the trend like 10%, 15%, right? It's not like boom going to 30% or 40% to your side. If that happens, you have to call them or discharge to them immediately. This is one of the mitigation way. And another thing, we have to follow up the financing issue, because utility scale we do the bank loan financing. So we have to project the financing in advance with some time. Now we going with P75 or P90 with the bank in 3 or 6 months in advance with curtailment rate. Are we going to survive for the next debt? If anything happens, then we need to talk with the banks in advance to short the money. Yeah. So we have to following up closely with both technically and the financing. Yeah. We cannot do anything actually on the how to reduce that we cannot do anything, only tracking and solving the facing problem. We cannot prevent it. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds very, very sensible to be managing the consequences. For example, talking to banks, because I think we can all agree picking up the phone and shouting at NLDC is not going to help you and not going to reduce your coming curtailment. I'm personally very happy that I'm not employed in NLDC, National Load Dispatch Center, because they must have the toughest job in the world at the moment, and how they manage to do it is beyond me. I know that everybody who gets curtailed is unhappy about it, but I still think we need to tip our hat sometimes to NLDC and their ability to keep the grid stable, which we've seen in many more advanced economies is not so easy. Okay, I can see Mr. Tien is back. As I said, he is sitting up in Giang, so I'm not sure if it was because the internet was a little bit bad up there, or if he took the opportunity to go for a quick swim in the wonderful beaches of Nha Trang. If we move to storage, which we already talked a little bit about from technical, then I cannot think of anybody better to give us a little bit of an overview of utility scale, the possibilities of utility scale energy storage. We will then afterwards talk with Lorenzo and maybe also myself and Federico about CNI, because that's very different energy storage there. But can you talk a little bit more about the legal framework, what you think will happen, what will not happen? Because we all got very excited in February 2019 when a draft of what became Decision 13 included energy storage, and we thought that was very forward thinking. But here we are sitting 2.5 years later. So over to you, Mr. Tien.
Yeah, hello. I'm sorry for my internet loss for the last minutes. Okay, it's very interesting to discuss something about the energy storage for the utility scale solar farm and wind farm. It's really challenging. You know, there is a two points of view, two things that we need to share. The first thing is the legal framework, because any key equipment, any key component in the project, I mean the solar farm, you need to register. You need to have something in the design beforehand and approved by the OIT or MOIT, depend on the size of the solar farm. So everything is firm in the PPA signing as well. PPA is based on the basic design approved by MOIT or the OIT. So if now we launch a new energy storage system in our system, so it means there is something new in the system, but it's not seen beforehand in the approval before. So it is very challenging. You know, at the time, there is a very strictly inspection from the OIT and the MOIT for the solar farm and wind farm to make sure that all the equipment to be in line with the register beforehand, on the document, on the design must be in conformity, I mean in the comply with the law regulation of Vietnam. Recently, there are some problem, very severe problem that even though it is already COD, solar farm and wind farm, but they lack of some document to be available before and to be available at the plant, and they are facing with a very big sanction from EVN and MOIT. So coming back to the energy storage system, for example, we are the investor. We would like to invest the energy storage system, but there is no guideline from the central government how to do it. Whether we can buy the equipment to put at the site and then to make it done for the operation, or we can register to EVN, register to the OIT or MOIT for that. That is something open. We need a guideline in specific manner. The second point is that that's the investment return. For example, now some investors are facing with the head problem, the curtailment up to 40%. Usually the 15% to 20% is very popular. But it may happen for a couple of years, for example, the 1 year, 2 years ahead. And after that, there is no curtailment. But we put money into the battery energy storage system. That's a certain investment, but we don't have enough time to get it returned. So it is a financial issue.
Like all other financial calculations, as soon as you get a few columns out in your spreadsheet, if you don't know what numbers to put in, then everything becomes very uncertain.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
On C&I, we're in a slightly different situation because there, of course, we don't need if we're in a zero export environment, which is basically what we are at the moment. So Lorenzo, how do you see C&I, storage in C&I, for example, on an existing site that you already have? Would that be possible?
Well, I mean, technically it's possible, clearly. Economically, it doesn't really add up at the moment, in the sense that assuming that we can charge the battery or the energy storage system during the day and discharge it, for example, from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock when the peak rate is on. If that's one cycle a day, that's not going to be enough to basically pay back the battery. Okay? The option would be maybe to utilize the battery also to charge the battery from the grid at night when the, the off-peak tariff is applied, and then discharge it during the day, which would basically make 2 cycles a day and would probably be closer to making the battery economically viable. This kind of process, though, is dependent on the grid tariffs staying as they are, basically, and on a big gap between the off-peak at night and the peak tariff from 5 to 8 in the day, for instance, no? Which is fine, but means that from the developer's point of view, this kind of contract is not bankable, because it's dependent on something which EVN can change or the MIT can change tomorrow, and you can't do anything about it. Okay? So we are looking at it very closely. We are exploring some projects also because I think that the feed-in tariff, the MIT, has basically been more or less burned twice, and I don't think they really want to go through the process again, in the sense that the feed-in tariff mechanism has been exploited, I think, in a way which was not what it was originally designed for. No? If it's a situation where it's looking at not being replaced again, then storage would be an obvious, let's say, response or an obvious alternative. But we need to look at something, let's say, call it a revenue stack, and also trying to add the different types of revenue streams for the same energy storage system to make it pay back.
Yeah, I fully agree. Nighttime to peak, obviously, in an industrial gives around 7.5 cents, 8 cents at the moment. But if that doesn't exist in 2024, then we're not really much further down the road, to be honest. Yeah. However, one of the great successes of Vietnam, if we look at being able to supply power, and just forget the COVID period, where we're down about 30% currently on energy demand in Vietnam. But if we look at normal state, then one of the things that has meant that EVN has been able to keep up with supply is that demand has been switched to nighttime because of the 3-tier system. Without that 3-tier system, Vietnam would have reached blackout long ago. But that system means that a lot of very big energy users, they switch on specifically at night, and that does even out our consumption, which is very good in a situation where a lot of the power so far has been hydro and coal, less so now with solar. I think we will switch to questions because there are quite a few questions piling up, and I will just throw them open. So jump in. There are no special prizes for those who answer most questions, though. And Jay, you just jump in when you want us to stop, but we will start answering questions now. So the first question we have is, at what level of tariff do we think that ESS would be feasible if investor is to pay for it? So what would you need extra to install ESS? Let's take that as a utility scale question first. Anyone?
So let's me discuss about that. Philip, regarding any further investment, because before we have the solar power project already invest and already we have the due diligence financially, technically it's done. But now facing with the curtailment, so we need further additional investment of the energy storage system. So based on it's key that we secure that we have the further incentive from the central government for the energies in the energy storage. Of course, the more investment, the more FIT we have entitled to have. So my recommendation is that the central government need to have such kind of incentive for the investment. And as soon as we have the FIT from that, we can put into our financial model to make the financial analysis to see whether we have the return on that or not. But anyway, I have the furthermore thing about the technical and commercial thing. That is, don't put any battery energy storage system into individual project, but to make some zone that the EVN and MOIT need to have the planning on that to see. The first purpose is for the frequency control. The second is to consume on the clipping loss by curtailment into the energy system. So the battery energy storage system become one new investment. And we just follow on the regulation and comply on the law of Vietnam. And we have the certain FIT for such kind of thing. So given that in the for the next 3 years, there is no any curtailment anymore. But at that time, the BSS can also buy electricity at the low or peak hour, and then they can sell at the peak hour. So the difference is can come to investment return of the project. Because what is the reason? So we don't know in the future, 2 years or maybe 1.5 years, there is no curtailment. So the investment for the battery energy storage system, we need a certain time, for example, 5 years to get the return. So let's imagine that we need to do for the battery energy storage system, not only for curtailment, but off-peak and peak difference.
Very good, thank you. We have a question about digital asset management, where everything comes, all data is collected and comes up on dashboard and so on. Does anybody want to weigh in about what is standard systems that are used in Vietnam? There are obviously a multitude internationally.
Well, I can talk. I thought that Federico was going to reply this. He's probably better qualified than I am, but if he doesn't, I can reply.
I can carry it.
Okay.
Okay. So for the digital asset management for a rooftop point of view, we usually encounter a problem, which is the different solar system. If they have installed different inverters, they're gonna have different monitoring systems. So when managing a portfolio of several rooftop, unless we have previously installed all the same brand of inverter, that's going to be challenging to combine all the data together. There are also some investors that they use some third-party monitoring software, but this software usually they cannot perform 100% of the control that normally the official monitoring system of the inverter can do. So when managing an asset of heterogeneous brands, it is important to find a way to combine these data in a common management system using, for example, the API software So like taking the data from different brands and combine into a single dashboard to manage your whole portfolio, but also need to be very clear for the asset management staff and O&M staff the procedure to operate within a different brand and different configuration of solar system. So I would say that combine the monitoring and diversify the operation based on the different brands.
Yeah, very good. That was also my impression. I have a question here that I think maybe you, Chavanut, would be ideal to answer. How do you see EVN power forecasting guidelines for solar and wind farms help reduce grid curtailment?
This question is a bit tough to answer actually, but nowadays actually we have to send to EVN every month. Depends on the district that we have to send them the forecast, our output in each month for solar and I think also in the wind farm as well. So we have to send them, but the regulation now actually in Vietnam is not like not tight like in Australia or somewhere else that they use the real-time forecast to estimate the production that we have to send them. This one is for now. This one is just for the it's like our model is like P50 from our calculation EYA, and that's it. But I think it helps a lot to NLDC because we have discussed with them many times. We know their difficulty now. They want to know the estimate, the most accurate estimation for our output to manage the system now, which is transformer, transmission lines very overload now. Yep. So it helped to EVN actually if we have the precise the calculation for them. Yes.
Very good. Rules for, sorry, was somebody else saying something? Rules for sales of electricity from residential. Is that you, Federico? I honestly don't know once we're below 100 kilowatt. But what are the current rules? If you build 20 kilowatt, 15 kilowatt on your roof, 10 kilowatt, are you allowed to sell the excess power if you build it today? Obviously, in 2020, you were allowed.
That's a good question. That's a good question. So at the moment, we have a lot of projects stuck. Mainly the larger one that have been built because it's not clear the procedure to connect the system to EVN. So most of the problems actually do not come from the fact that we cannot sell the electricity to EVN. Some customers they can consume a lot. They can commit to consume a lot of energy, and that would already make the project feasible. But now there is a lack of procedure to connect to EVN. How do we need to connect? Which documentation we need to make? Which equipment we need to install when we connect with EVN? Now there is no clarity about that. So the 98% of the projects are stuck. The only one that we see that are continuing to go forward is the small commercial projects below 20 kilowatt or maybe below 100 kilowatt. I would say in that case, EVN is still collaborates on the connection, at least informally. And this kind of investment usually is quite small. So even the investor maybe is the owner of the property, they are willing to take the risk, and but there is no FIT at the moment, and also there is no record of how much energy is transferred to the grid. So whoever is doing a small project right now for a commercial size below 100 kilowatt is actually responsible for using his own power. It cannot rely on any sale of electricity. And for bigger projects below 1 megawatt CNI, the situation is even more challenging, because the investor, they don't even know what they need to do to connect the system to the grid. Maybe also Mr. Phillips or Mr. Lorenzo have experience in the situation now, because maybe they also have some project on the pipeline that are stuck.
I'm just sitting reading also the answered questions. If there's nobody else who has questions, then I think we will get ready to wrap up. We're already a little bit delayed. I apologize for that. Is there anybody that has any parting shots? What is needed in the rest of 2021 to ensure that we have a healthy industry, but perhaps not the gold rush bonanza of the last couple of years, where either a lot of panels are put on non-rooftops, as we discussed already, or on rooftops where the whole financial model is based on 100% export, and therefore the country, the industry as such, is not deploying capital very efficiently and making great demands. Is there anybody that has any parting shots before we finish off?
Well, if I put my 5 cents in, I think that, like you already said, I think MIT and EVN are, after all, basically struggling with a very, very difficult task, because, I mean, so no one is basically saying they are doing this or they are not doing this because of they don't want to support the industry. It's just that basically they have to juggle different things at the same time. So incentivize or support the solar industry, both rooftop and utility scale, while expanding and building up the grid in an economy which grows at 8% a year or something like that. So basically it's demanding more and more electricity every day. Now with the added complication of the pandemic, so it really is a gargantuan task, I think. What would be good to have, I think, is clear indications, and especially, let's say, medium to long term. No, I mean, it's very difficult from the industry point of view to manage feed-in tariffs, which are approved like the last round in April and expire in December. No, it means that basically either the projects are ready to go, ready to start building, or it's a race against time, but it's not suitable for long-term planning, neither for the developers, for the EPC companies, for the customers themselves. You know? And it's understandable from a point of view, because it's an emergency situation, or it's basically to get rid of a backlog which had accumulated. But now we need, I think, something which has let's say a 3 or 5 years view, which is something that allows a long-term planning for all the stakeholders involved, I think. No.
So we do not want terms and conditions that are very strenuous for EVN, like a high feed-in tariff, etc., or ability to build as big rooftop as we want. But what we would like as an industry is a reasonable time frame, so that we can simply act within that those sets of rules, and then build out in a reasonable tempo.
Well, yeah, obviously, if we can make systems, a rooftop system bigger than 1.25 megawatts, that would be great, because that's a big constraint now. I mean, you need to have multiple meters, there's different loopholes that you can walk around. But I mean, if you could start making bigger systems, as a matter of fact, that would be definitely very helpful also.
I think the issue that EVN has there is that they need to always be able to keep the factories running. So they need to have lots of capacity spinning idle. If you have a sunny day, and then as soon as a cloud goes over, the factory of 30 megawatt of rooftop solar, which you have in other countries, then EVN needs to kick in those 30 megawatts from somewhere else. And they're saying that, especially in a supply constrained environment, which we have been in until the pandemic, they simply don't, they cannot afford to have 30 megawatts standing idle.
No, that's understandable. I mean, that's not.
And that's I think that's the issue that EVN have, and that's why there was made this rule in Cambodia. It's, as you know, it's half of the transformer size at 90% power factor, or something like that. 50% of the transformer size at 90% power factor. With that, I would like to thank you all. Thank you to my panel, Federico, Lorenzo, Chavanut, and Philip, Mr. Tien. And then I think it's time to hand over to Jay, who will probably announce a lunch break, and then that we're back for a final panel in the afternoon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Mr. Thomas. Thank you very much. And many thanks for such a well-structured panel. Okay, so we finished all the session in the morning of Solar Energy Future Vietnam Virtual. Hereby, thanks to all your guys to share your experience in this panel discussion, which is meaning and interesting for us. And I believe that it can shape our insights in this field. At last, we do thanks for all the audience here staying with us this morning. And in the afternoon, there is a live solar investment workshop and at our event, which starts on 2 p.m. Vietnam time. So thanks again, Mr. Thomas, Federico, Lorenzo, Chavanut, and Mr. Filippo. Thank you very much. Yes. Thanks again, and see you again later. Yeah. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to the afternoon session of Solar Energy Future Vietnam Virtual. This is Jay, project producer of Leader Associates. Very glad to see you are here again. For attendees who missed the morning session, we will send you the recording and the speaker's presentation slides next week. Now, without further ado, let's start with our first keynote of afternoon session here. Dr. Oliver, the partner from Doyle Morris Vietnam, will start the keynote here. The keynote topic is challenges in investing solar projects in Vietnam. Okay, hi, Ollie.
Thank you, Jay. Chào các quý vị và các bạn. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I want also to address the Vietnamese audience here. So the topic of my presentation is Vietnam challenges in solar investment projects here. I will give you information about the legal framework, the de facto development in Vietnam, which is very stunning, very impressive. And I will give you also some practical tips, some practical advice you won't get from any other presentation here or elsewhere, how to implement, how to work on projects to get really deals done in Vietnam. Next slide. So just a short 1-minute note on our Dwayne Morris energy practice. We are the oldest American law firm. We have advised on nuclear power plants. We have advised on all sorts of fossil fuel power plants, and especially in California, we are very, very active in advising in renewable energy projects. So this is Dwayne Morris. We are about over 800 partners, 2,000 staff, the oldest American law firm. Next slide. So energy sector background, what you can take out of the slide is the following. In short term, Vietnam is facing an energy crisis. How can you solve that? You cannot solve this short-term energy crisis with gas-fired power plants or coal-fired power plants, because the development takes minimum 8 to 10 years. I was involved in one of the biggest ones 20 years ago, 22 years ago, FUMI 2, FUMI 2.2, FUMI 3. You cannot do that. So short term, you cannot do that. Midterm, yes. Midterm, yes. Long term, okay. But the answer is not long term. The answer is Vietnam needs energy now, and their renewable energy kicks in. And Vietnam has to develop a framework for renewable energy, and they did so. 4 years ago, there was not one solar energy project, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking now about why we are sitting here. We're talking now about 17 gigawatt of installed solar capacity in Vietnam. That's more than 3 nuclear power plants. So this is very, very impressive. Next slide. So, of course, the elephant in the room, what is the problem in Vietnam? You have so-called non-negotiable PPAs, basically. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, if you go for not utility scale projects, you will end up to accept the standard PPA. So this is not the way to go in this time. You have to go for utility scale project. Now, there is no legal definition for utility scale. What is utility scale in solar projects? But there is a threshold definition, and this is 50 megawatt, and every project that is larger than 50 megawatt is subject to the jurisdiction of the Prime Minister, and that makes it basically de facto utility scale, upwards 50 megawatt, upwards 100, 200 megawatt. What I'm telling you that is because if you start to think about such projects, you should start to think about to have the chance to amend the standard PPA for some sentences, even if it's only a change in law clause that reflects to your respective international trade agreements, investment protection agreements. Also, I will comment later on that. This is critical here. Now, EVN still has a monopoly. You come into a time where EVN is still the monopoly off-taker for grid projects, so you have to deal with them. And you have to understand EVN has been established in 1994, and the government has obliged EVN to work with the lowest tariffs since 30 years. So basically, EVN has done mission impossible. They build up a relatively acceptable infrastructure, energy generation infrastructure with the lowest tariffs. So this is basically the current situation here. Next slide. Yeah, the elephant in the room, grid connection issues. Ladies and gentlemen, let me explain to you historically a little bit for you to understand that. Historically, you had one grid line from the north to the south. That was it. And you had 50 feed-in points. That was it. So that was not a big deal for the grid to take. Now you have from the mid in Vietnam to the south in Vietnam, about 400 additional feed-in points. I'm talking about 400. And that's the reason why the grid is basically overloaded. They have to upgrade the grid. And that's translates into basically into practical advice here is if you start your project, you start to develop, think about doing a project in Vietnam, you please approach EVN Electricity Vietnam to get a pre-agreement or pre-negotiation on a grid connection agreement. This is absolutely critical here. Next slide. So, what did I say about making use of international trade agreements? Ladies and gentlemen, the EU-Vietnam Free Trade Agreement is in force since 1st of August 2020. I would just give you examples. And CPTPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, is in force since December 2018. In those agreements, you have foreign direct investment chapters, and you have the chance to make use of those. So there's one thing that can basically lift up your PPA with very simple measures, super simple, very simple measures to lift up your PPA to address such investment protection agreements and give you protection. One example is the so-called investor-state dispute settlement. You might argue, okay, in the agreements, there's a 5-year transition period and it only is in effect since 5 years. Yes, that's right. But your PPA is 20 years old, long. Your PPA will be lasting 20 years. And if you have a good change, good change in law clause that reflects basically your right to ask for dispute resolution when the ISDS is in effect, and that can basically give you a lot of leverage. So I'm talking about negotiation. Don't give up. Fight for basically fight for a little bit amendment of the PPA. Yeah. Next slide. Okay. I've worked on the direct power purchase agreement project with the government for 2 years now. What is it? A direct power purchase agreement will help you, or will give you the opportunity to produce solar power and then to sell it directly to the end consumer without EVN involved. There will be a pilot project. If you want to take part already in a pilot project, that will be starting to develop in 2022. Let me know. You have to be included. Your project has to be included in the National Power Development Plan. So if you want to make use of this direct power purchase agreement pilot program, you have to do your homework now. And after TED 2022, the application procedure starts. That's my estimate. So be prepared, be aware of this, and that is a good opportunity to basically avoid EVN and to do a direct agreement, direct PPA with the end consumer. Next slide. Yeah, benefits of the direct power purchase agreement mechanism. You can impose take or pay obligations on off-takers, thus you have guaranteed developers revenue stream, fixed electricity purchase price regardless of status of national legislation. You can determine that, and flexible calculation of monthly exchange rate and increase consumers' environmental commitments, since only consumers with renewable energy uses commitments can participate in that pilot project. Next slide. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. At this stage, that was it. I will give you now a practical tip that is very critical. You will not get from any other presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm practicing in Vietnam for more than 20 years. I have very good contact to EVN, Electricity Vietnam. Let me give you one example. It is very critical that you employ retired, listen carefully, retired people from EVN, Electricity Vietnam. There are engineers around here that are 60 or over 60 years old. They have worked 20 years or longer in EVN, and they are basically retired. And some of them are eager to work. If you can make them basically working for you and you get them in a service agreement, they will do all the legwork for you. I've done it for a lot of clients here, to introduce them to retired EVN people, retired EVN engineers. And this is absolutely critical, because they will do the legwork for you. They will do the basics for you here. You can have agreements with them on a flat fee, and then you give them success, depending on success milestone, additional payment. So this will help you to develop your project very much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Now it's open to question.
Okay. Hold on. Okay. Many thanks for your presentation, Ollie. As an excellent finishing touch, we learn much knowledge in your presentation, especially PPA, DPPA, and grid connection issue in this market. And I have one question from our side, is that what do you think what's most important for Vietnam solar policy?
Yeah, most important for Vietnam's solar, I would not say policy,
right.
but for Vietnam's solar energy market, solar energy infrastructure is basically upgrading the grid. That is the most important thing. As I explained to you in my presentation, to all of you in my presentation, historically there were only one line, one grid line from north to the south, and there were 50 feed-in points. Ladies and gentlemen, they have now over 400 feed-in points. So basically, this is absolutely critical that they upgrade the grid. And for you as an investor, it's absolutely critical that you get a grid connection agreement with EVN. Start at least the negotiation started. You will see it will be very difficult if you go in and try to do that with EVN. But if you don't have that, then better stay home. Don't invest in Vietnam. I'm very straightforward. Is it possible still to get grid connection agreements? Yes, it's possible if you come to utility scale, because actually in the past there have been made a lot of mistakes. When the new law came out by the Prime Minister for about 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, in 2017, and it determined the right of the Prime Minister to decide about everything from for energy projects, solar energy projects, up 50 megawatt upwards. Everybody scaled the project, or a lot of investors scaled their project down, not to be facing the Prime Minister. Sorry to say that. That was stupid. The Prime Minister made The Prime Minister made very clear, basically, that he has the authority to decide everything for 50 megawatt upwards project. And then please do that, follow that, and negotiate with the Prime Minister office, and then you will be successful. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ollie. And hello, audience. Hello, everyone. If you have any question, would like to ask our speaker, Ollie, you can write your question in the Q&A box. And now we will start our last panel discussion for investing solar projects in Vietnam. Dr. Oliver will moderate this panel discussion, and Mr. Wing Huai Hai, CFO from Halcom, Mr. Chen Wing Huai, project developer from Sectec ASA, Mr. Brace, General Manager Vietnam from Baywa RE, as well as Mr. Musi, Managing Director from Shire Global Renewable Power, will be panelists to discuss this topic. So I will turn the microphone to Ollie, and it is your stage now.
Thank you very much, Jay here. Ladies and gentlemen, Muti and Bryce, welcome, and hi, very welcome. I have here Jackie Dow too, but I don't know, I don't have a video or anyway. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the panel discussion here. Do you have any comments at the start? Let me know.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Could you please, turn on your microphone?
Yeah, hi,
right.
Can you hear me?
Hi, Grace. Yeah, nice to meet you. So at your stage, you can discuss the key issue in investing solar projects in Vietnam. So let's start it. Yeah.
So if you don't have any starting comments, let me start with questions I got in here. One of the questions is, given the current curtailment risk by EVN, should investors continue to invest in solar projects, or should they stop to invest in solar projects? What are the ways to minimize the curtailment risk? And yes, the answer is yes. The government is doing its best to remove obstacles for investment into renewable energy, since Vietnam wants to increase renewable energy percentage up to 29%. If you see my presentation, I have mentioned it in my presentation, for the overall generated electricity by 2030. The government has been doing this by polishing up laws and policies relevant to development in this sector. Here, the investment law, the PPP law, draft auction mechanism, draft DPPA law, and issued a number of investment incentives, preferential corporate income tax, and duty exemptions, and ways, my practical tips of ways to minimize the curtailment risk. First, get into negotiation with EVN if you do on-grid projects. So negotiate with them a mechanism that works for both sides and try to get a preliminary grid connection agreement going. Build the plant in areas with low local transmission constraint. Avoid Ninh Thuận, avoid Binh Thuận. There are too many projects there. And high electricity demands here, built near big upcoming cities and built near big upcoming investment zones. Vietnam is establishing a number of new investment zones. That's very critical here. So this is basically build energy storage resources. This is the next point to come. You have to care about energy storage resources, electricity, batteries, for example. So this is the answer to the question. Do you have any comments here, Moti, Bryce, and Jay? Thank you.
Oli, thanks. This is Murthy Nooni from Marshall Global Renewable Power. So we are developing a few early stage solar wind projects in Vietnam, ground up. About curtailment, what we're seeing in Vietnam, it's quite similar to some other developing countries, right? It's, everything doesn't happen in step. The solar power projects and the grid projects don't happen at the same time. It is very difficult to plan in alignment. So the projects come up first, the grid projects come up later. So there is always a mismatch. This is happening in other countries as well. But the question is, who takes the heavy lifting when the grid is not ready and your project is ready and the grid is not ready? But unfortunately, in Vietnam, the project developer has to take the heavy lifting because of the PPA. In other countries, the PPA is a take or pay PPA. Even in India, it's take or pay PPA. In India, also the buyer of the power, which is the electricity distribution companies belonging to the state, they're bankrupt. They don't have enough money to pay, and sometimes they don't pay on time. But the PPA is a take or pay PPA, so that the developer has the option of going to the High Court, the Supreme Court, and they get paid eventually, even if there's a delay. But in Vietnam, that option is not available. So you have to, the developers are taking the hit to the extent of the curtailment, while the grid infrastructure, the substation and the transmission lines take time to come up. So this happened more in the various states that Oli mentioned as well, Binh Thuan, and even other, the 4 or 5 projects get connected at the same time, as per the FIT timeline. And suddenly there is grid congestion. So the additional substations and the transmission lines that we put up. Some projects are managing to do better if they're connected to a 220 kV transmission line. Then they get into the national network and they have less curtailment. So some others who have good connection in the substation, they're okay. They're having less curtailment, like 5 or 10%. But some others having more curtailment, especially during the high sun time, like between hours of 11 to 2. So that's something which is going to keep happening until the grid becomes more stabilized and a lot of grid investment happens. So we have to wait for that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Moti. You hit the nail on the head here. Grid connection and the upgrade of the grid and take or pay. But ladies and gentlemen, let me give you one point here. I have worked on 12, maybe not too much, but 12 solar power projects with a combined gigawatt value of 2.8 gigawatt and brought them to financial close. If you can manage to change just 2-3 sentences in the standard PPA referring to a change in law clause that refers directly to your right to use ISDS when ISDS comes into effect, that can bring a lot of value to you, because with that you can go to EVN. Basically, if the MOIT agrees to that, we have done that. We got that to financial close here. It is not much change, but just listen to me. When the shit hits the fan, basically, and EVN is starting to curtail, EVN will summon its legal department and will ask, hey, we have 400 projects. What are the weakest project documents? What are the weakest agreements? And they will search, and I've seen them basically analyzing the project documents, and they will select the weakest one, and then they will curtail the weakest one. So basically, it's not it's not for nothing if you have a sound legal agreement, and if you fight and try for utility scale projects to get some changes into the PPA. I've done it. I've succeeded with that. And when my projects, my 12 projects, I doubt that EVN will touch them if you have ISDS as a dispute resolution change in law clause after its effect in 5 years. The PPA goes for 20 years, and you can bet that my clients would sue the Vietnamese government offshore and can enforce offshore under ISDS if there is curtailment for my PPAs. So it is not yes, we have the elephant in the room. Yes, we have no take or pay. Yes, there are problems, but you can try to minimize your risk. And that is my message. I just got another okay. I have another question, maybe that is interesting here. If Bryce has no comments, Bryce, you have comments or?
The curtailment issue?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, another approach that I don't think was mentioned is just avoiding curtailment altogether with the self-consumption model. You know, much smaller scale projects, you know, I think it's capped at 1.25 megawatt peak per meter connection. But we're looking at quite a few of these for the commercial and industrial sector here in Vietnam. And I think there's a very appealing business case to be made for customers and investors in that space as well.
Right,
and yeah, go ahead.
That's an excellent comment. That's an excellent comment. Let me work out a little bit on that. For 1 megawatt projects, you even don't need an electricity selling license with the MOIT at all. You just need to register the whole project. We have done a lot of them. And I think that that is basically also a part of the market where you should invest. Yes, definitely, Bryce. Thank you very much for your comment. Okay, then I have another question here coming in. How will the new auction regime for solar power projects benefit investors? So there will be a new auction regime, ladies and gentlemen. The feed-in tariff basically system is history. The government will not put up a feed-in tariff for solar anymore. According to basically the draft laws, this basically auction regime is applicable to projects with grid connection directly to the national power network every 2 years. The MOIT, Minister of Industry and Trade, will issue a price framework for electricity generation in order to determine the ceiling price for bidding to select investors of solar projects with a commercial operation date in the next 2 years. Now, question to what's the applicable solar power purchase price? That is the price for the connection point proposed by the winning bidder investor in the bidding dossier here, excluding value-added tax, reduce reliance on and the need of government to continuously update national legislation on that here. Bidding procedure, the people's committees in the provinces of the localities to publish the bidding dossiers here. Ladies and gentlemen, let me give you a practical tip now. you would have to invest in some of the provinces. Vietnam has over 60 provinces, and it is absolutely critical that if you have decided for one province, you have to start to make love with the chairman of the People's Committee of that province. What does it mean? It means you have to make friends. It is absolutely critical for getting your project done, yet you are good friends with the members of the People's Committee, and especially with the chairman of this People's Committee, because they can push and help to get your project through with the line authorities in Vietnam. So this is a practical tip, and that is absolutely critical. Okay.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, Ali. Thanks for your thanks for your panel discussion. Actually, we have received some questions in the Q&A box, and are really good ones. Yes. Would you please answer one or two of them? I can see some questions.
Please,
yes?
I'm the moderator, so I would love if Murthy, Bryce could comment on that too. Thank you very much.
Yes, okay. Actually, we would like to know speakers' insights for our question from our audience. So you can see the first question is, currently without V3, is it still possible to install solar at utility and commercial scale?
Can you repeat the question? It didn't come through with the honor.
Okay, the first question is, currently without V3, is it still possible to install solar at utility and commercial scale?
Okay, I don't see the video of Mr. Nguyen Hoang Hai here.
Yeah,
but
right.
Of course, Mr. Hai, if you can comment, please feel free to comment too.
Yes, as we know that like V3 is far from expectation, and then people are still maybe waiting for like bidding or auction, like and I think that even under auction mechanism we can still proceed. I mean, like when the competition it's more and more like harder, and so maybe I guess that's the EPC cost and the total capex of solar project should be like a key points when we can find a way to reduce the costs, and so that we can be more competitive, and we must show that we are capable of running the projects, especially in the large scale projects, and when everything should be possible. I think I mean we don't expect something like totally different from what we have done up to now. I mean, even under auction, we have to prepare for a lot of things like maybe land, and maybe connection, maybe like the EPC and everything we should prepare. But the key point is that the costs now should be more and more competitive when we are not we may not enjoy any feature like before. Yeah, is my idea.
To add, Murthy, please.
Yeah, okay. So basically at this point, there is no FIT regime, right? So we had FIT2, and there is pretty much a consensus among MOIT and the ministries that there will be no FIT3.
No. Yeah. Absolutely.
And basically they want to prepare for solar power auction for sure, and so that they can get the lowest price possible. And also there is excess power right now on the solar sector. Basically in 2020, we didn't have much demand growth, expected demand growth because of COVID. I think only 2% demand growth perhaps. 2021, we thought there's going to be good demand growth in the country, but I think we're going to have problems with the current COVID spread. So which means that a lot of capacity has come up, both solar and now this year wind will come up as well. So the demand for power has basically got shifted by a couple of years. So to that extent, EVN is not under pressure to buy a lot of power quite immediately, right? So they can shift out by a couple of years, so they can take their own time and prepare the projects for auction. So as far as auction is concerned, it is still work in progress. The final auction regime is not fully announced yet, so they're still thinking about it, how it's going to be done. Whether it's going to be for solar, whether it's going to be substation based or regional basis, province basis. So we'll get to know sometime maybe towards the end of the year or early next year what the auction regime is going to be. But for companies to bid for the auction, they do need to have some certainty about the payments. So the PPA has to be slightly better probably. So I think the World Bank is pushing MOIT and the government EVN into auction system, assuming that there will be less cost to EVN, but more efficient. But at the same time, they are also wanting to have better PPA and transparent auction system so that everybody benefits. So to what extent is going to be transparent? It's still a question mark. So we have to wait for the final play how it comes out, and also how the developer is going to put their costs together, because I don't think the developer can buy all the land and keep it ready, assuming that he will win the auction. Because what if he doesn't win the auction and he's just sitting on a pile of land? Because obviously the utility scale solar projects require a lot of land. The 100 megawatt project will require at least 100 megawatt of 100 hectares of land. So it's a lot of land which they need to buy and keep. So are they going to buy and keep and wait for the auction? And maybe they don't win the auctions, and then what happens? So there are a lot of uncertainties that the developers have to deal with. So this is something that the government has to, EVN and MOIT have to take these things into their consideration before coming up with the auction. So at the moment, there is no effective regime. The only projects that can come up are self-consumption projects for rooftop self-consumption. Beyond that, there is no other play for solar projects as of now. So we're just waiting for auction or DPPA proposals to come up.
Muti, thank you very much. Some points to make to your comments. Excellent comments. One point is, what can you do basically here and that time in solar projects utility scale? You could do some homeworks. Get into direct contact with the MOIT, Ministry of Industry and Trade, and get your project on the National Power Development Plan. If you have utility scale, that could help you basically first get recognized as an investor there for such a project. So homework, get your project, if it's utility scale, on the National Development Master Plan. Second, and that is also very important, absolutely critical, is get together with EVN, Electricity Vietnam. Get yourself an EVN guy basically on your payroll, a retired EVN guy, absolutely compliant, no problem. And they will basically do the legwork for you there. So you can do some homework to prepare yourself. Third, although Vietnam has one of the most liberalized WTO market access service sector commitments, meaning you can establish your own 100% project entity, power development project entity and generation entity here in Vietnam, in comparison to the Philippines, where you only get maximum 40%. So you can run it 100% here, which is very good. But you should get 5% or 10% profit share with the Vietnamese partner who has already locked in the land use right. What I'm doing is basically we're searching for partners, Vietnamese companies who have already land. and we lock them in with a profit share. And this could be a solution to your point where you say that you have to basically address the land use right issue. You have to agree on a land use right. I solve this problem with getting a good partner here, preferably not a state-owned enterprise, preferably a private Vietnamese company, and who has already the land use right, and lock them in and give them a profit share. Thank you.
One other, Ollie, I don't know if it was mentioned, but you mentioned it in your opening presentation, is the DPPA project next year. Yeah. There's going to be a relatively small window for utility scale projects next year, capped at 1 gigawatt, likely coming out just after TET. Yes. Minimum project size is 30 megawatts, but yeah, I think that my sense is that 1 gigawatt cap will get hit pretty quick. So there probably won't be a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. But so if you really want to take part, the message should be to the audience: get your homework done. The application has to be done, has to be started latest in January 2022. You have to, and please, also for such projects, you have to get your project into the National Development Power Development Plan. That is absolutely critical. If it's not in there, you cannot take part in the DPPA pilot project. This is legal. This is a legal requirement. So yes, you have to do your homework now. Start to do your homework now for things to do to take part in this pilot project legally. Technically, I fully agree with you. 1 gigawatt is nothing. But this is not us to determine. This is the MOIT and EVN to determine. But ladies and gentlemen, such pilot project will phase out. There's a very good news. Why? Because at the end of 2023 and within 2024, EVN, Electricity Vietnam, will lose its off-taker monopoly. And this is absolutely critical. So there will be a very, very important liberalization coming up for the electricity sales market, generation market, off-take market. And please take note of that. And that will be part of PDP, Power Development Plan 8, which is now in a draft version. I have published on that. Ask me for my publication or go to LinkedIn and connect with me. It's there. So this is absolutely critical that you, as a new player, if you develop large-scale projects, you will come in a time here now, it's the end of 2021, probably in 2022, where you have to deal with a market where EVN does not have the monopoly anymore. And this is very important and also very good.
Oliver, the projects going forward will be approved as per PDP 8. So we have to work around the PDP 8 document, right? So the PDP 8 document is awaiting approval.
It's in draft version only, Muthi. Currently. Yeah, that's true. It is also. It is. Why is it in draft version also now? There's one reason why is it in draft version. It refers also to in Vietnam's international IPA agreements, investment protection agreements, and the Vietnamese did not come up with any inclusion practically and address such issues in the Power Development Master Plan. So PDP 8. So yes, definitely they're working on that, and I think also this will be only in effect as a law, the PDP 8 in 2022. Yeah.
So the investment protection agreements will be part of the PDP 8. Is that what you're saying?
No, you have to understand one thing. It's very critical. You have to take into account a certain framework in the PDP 8 because if the investors will make use, for example, the CPTPP is in effect full now already. You can use ISDS now already. The IPA is not ratified yet, the investment protection agreement. But the Vietnamese government has to basically reflect such agreements or the the effect of such agreements. They have to be more careful. They have to be more clear. They have to be more transparent. They have to limit corruption here. Absolutely, because the investors will be able to sue offshore the Vietnamese government if anything goes wrong, and they will be able to enforce offshore. So the Vietnamese government has to reflect such things in its laws and in the implementation. It's a more important implementation of such laws in Vietnam. Otherwise, I'm telling you, I have already clients who basically say, okay, that's ready. Let's go for it, and then let's include that. You got it included in some of large-scale agreements. I'm working on a $3 billion LNG project now, liquefied natural gas project now, where basically the parties have agreed to ISDS, dispute resolution. Now I'm telling you, if the government does not stick to its commitments under the laws and in practical for such projects, they will be sued in ISDS, and that will cost them millions. So this effect has to be taken into account for the new laws and the implementation of those laws.
Oliver, for the approval of projects, so basically we are waiting for the PDP-8 document to be finalized. And as per PDP-8, the approval process will also be different. So that's what I hear. There's going to be a new, like a panel for approval of projects, panel for appraisal of projects. So the panel will comprise of representatives from each of the ministries. So the panel will then look into the projects and approve it. And approval may be for a group of projects from a province or a group of
that is currently in the talking, this panel. I do not really believe that will be implemented like this. The reason why this panel is in the talking now is a power struggle between EVN and MYT, the Minister of Industry and Trade, a very tough power struggle. EVN is about to lose its monopoly, as I told you, and they want to get as much power and influence as they can have, because on one hand, they lose the off-taker monopoly, and if they don't grab other areas where they can have something to say, like the panel, basically, they are out of business. So, so this is basically reflected in, and this contributes to PDP-8 taking longer to be in effect and to be accepted by the National Assembly.
Yeah, but PDP-8 is from 2021 to 30, so 21 is already getting over, right? So
yeah, but it's not there. Yes, it's right, but that doesn't disturb the Vietnamese government basically to still work on a draft. Yeah, you're right. It's still, but there is no final PDP-8 yet. That's the current situation.
We need to wait for that first before getting to the next steps.
Yeah. But the reason why that is basically still in the making is basically one of the reasons is a huge power struggle between EVN. I know my guys in EVN, and I'm telling you, with the MYT and with the government office, there's a lot of things now going on there, because EVN wants to secure power positions, because in 2024 it will lose a part of its power. That's the current situation. Okay, Jay, are there any other questions coming in?
Okay, Oli. Actually, the second question is price of ESS seems still too high at the moment, and in near future, how investor can deal with it, especially when there will be low feed or something other. Mr. Oli.
What do you can you repeat? I acoustically didn't get it. What the price of what is exactly in question?
Okay. The second question is price of ESS energy storage solution seems still too high at the moment, and in near future, how investor can deal with it, especially when there will be low feed or other something. Yeah.
Thank you, Jay.
Yeah.
I leave that to the panel. Why, Murthy, Bryce, do you have any comments on that?
At the moment, there is no policy for ESS, right? There's no policy for BESS, battery electric storage.
Not yet.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. So, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, yes. There was originally there was a policy for solar project, but they removed it because it did not match with the old feed-in tariffs. Yes. So no, in the current situation is there is no policy and there's no mandatory basically energy storage policy in place. Yeah.
Yeah. And whenever they have the BESS policy, I don't think it is a policy which is going to be together with the projects. Probably it's got to be a separate project altogether, because BESS by itself is like a solar project. It's a big project by itself. It's it can't be just for 1 megawatt hour, 2 megawatt hours, because you know the solar project is producing power for like 5-6 hours. A BESS electric storage project, if you're having 1 megawatt hour project, it can only store power for 1 hour, and after that again the power gets lost. So you probably need to have multiple megawatt hour projects of BESS, which can then fire up whenever the power is required, and when it fires up, then they'll have to be paid at a higher price because it's a different project, it's expensive. So there's got to be a separate policy for it, which is just not in place right now. So it's not going to happen anytime soon. But I'm sure they're thinking about it. So eventually it will be there. So we have to prepare and be ready.
Yes, for ESS, yeah, we see that for ESS is so important in solar, because it can show the biggest weakness of the solar system when they like in peak hour, like in the evening, and when the solar is not available. So currently we see that the ESS is quite expensive. But I know that the investors and even like many investors now they are very interested in looking for it as a solution, and they hope that in future, by competition and invention, so the ES cost should be lower. Yeah, we see that the same thing happened to the panel, solar panel before, like, but now it becomes cheaper and cheaper, and it has, I think that the number of ES manufacturers now in Vietnam looking for opportunities, and investors also, they are ready to put money into development of, into the boosting the business of ESS, and I think stakeholders are available and interested in, but to see the cost of ESS to be lower, I think it might take time, but we see that many parties are interested in and really involved in the market already.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Yes, and I have a question for Mr. Chen Wing Huang. Hello, Mr. Chen Wing Huang, can you hear me?
Okay, yes.
Yeah, okay. As we all know, your companies has lots of projects in this market. So what do you think, what is important for investing solar projects in Vienna? You can share your insights and some points from your side.
So at the moment, I think the whole panel has a lot of very good knowledge about the subject. And as an IPP, a long-term IPP in this market, we always look for the project with the best economic fundamental. So currently there's no policy regarding to any wind, solar, or even rooftop. There could be another fit for rooftop. just for rooftop, and the rest would likely be going into auction. So when we went to the auction, the best project with the best economic fundamental will win. Of course, there would be some the capability of the investor by itself, like whether we could get good project financing rates. We have a good structure either for the PPA or auction. In order to be successful in the auction, we basically need both. So we have to do a very good job in terms of our own capability, as well as looking after all of the best projects out there are still available for acquisition. So that would be my answer to be a successful investor in this market. And just regarding to the ESS, a few months ago, EVN did submit a report to MOT recommending three immediate action to improve the curtailment of the country. I'm looking at the document now. So one of them is EVN would propose that the current factory can install the ESS to support the curtailment risk, and the price would not be higher than the PPA price. That is one of the first solutions. The second is the EVN would have a pilot release of between 50 to 100 megawatts to do as a showcase for the AIS system to improve the curtailment risk. And the third topic is EVN would propose MOT to release a program, a regime to allow investor to invest in a typical EAS release system. So I think that is some very good movement for the market, and I think you could look into the DPPA and the ESS policy, probably likely to be sooner than any of the wind or solar auction in the near future. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chen Wing Huan. Okay. So, do everybody have question for investing solar projects in Vietnam? So that's all. Okay. Okay. No problem. So thanks. Many thanks for such well structured panel, and thanks for all of you to have the panel discussion in this session. Yeah, thank you everybody. Yes.
Thank you very much. So
yeah, okay. Thank you, which is meaningful and interesting for us. And I believe that it can shape our insights in this finance and investment field. So last part, I would like to introduce our following Solar Expo, Solar PV Show Vietnam 2021 to all of you. This great show will be held on 9 to 10 November at Adore Center, Ho Chi Minh City. It is an information exchange and business networking platform between different stakeholders in the country's solar PV value chain, aiming to lay the groundwork for the development, investment, and partnership across all industry peers. The event will bring together 8,000 participants, 100 speakers, 120 exhibitors, and sponsors. Hence, I would like to remind you of the National Day discount for delegate registration will be open due 10 September to celebrate independence of Vietnam since 1945, which is up to 24% off. So do contact us directly if you have interest. So it is all the things of today's live event. We do believe that SCFV Virtual can shape all of your insights for solar industry in this market, especially in developers' future plans, solar tech, O&M, ESS, as well as investment field. Thanks again. By the way, recording And the presentation slides as well as post-event report will be sent all of you next week. Yeah, right. So goodbye. Hope you enjoyed this event today and have a nice weekend as well as keep safe. Goodbye, everybody.
Nice weekend, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chen.